Your morning just got more interesting. Distilled and barrel-picked for your listening pleasure. Bo Bishop, a local sports media legend. What William T. Sherman was to the Union Army, he is to Northern College football. A husband, a father, and middling youth sports coach. He's friends with Central Ohio sporting royalty.
I'm talking to Ohio State Athletic Director Ross Bjorken. Coach Day walking on with us right now. Good to see you, buddy. Good buddy, Austin Ward. My good buddy, Tim May, the Tim May Show. The great Doug Lavery's joining us.
Hi, everybody. Dom Tiberi here.
Oh, Reese came in and he handed me papers.
Yeah.
And then he said, "You see that button? That's the only button you need to worry about. Don't touch. There's 8,000 buttons in front of me." Oh, I didn't know what he was talking about.
The one that says on.
We blew the budget on this imaging, and only two guys answered our ad on Craigslist. Ryan Baker and Eric Reeser. Act accordingly. You're now listening to Bishop and Friends.
Bishop and Friends is sponsored by Diamond Seller, your true jeweler for over 75 years.
All right, let's do it live on a Tuesday edition of the program. Bo and the boys with you for the next three. Reese is here. Bake is here. Dom will stop by at 10:30, which is customary. Dalton Wasserman of PFF on the draft side of things, fresh off the Senior Bowl. Are any of these quarterbacks an answer? We'll ask him that coming up at 11:30 here on the program. A very candid conversation for Ryan Day and Joel Klatt. We'll have some of that for you coming up at 10:17. Obviously, it is Super Bowl week. Obviously, we have major acquisition or trade that did happen on the MLS side of things, and then one that is requested on the Brown side of thing. All of this while Ohio State is looking to hire two coordinators and an offensive line coach. So, yeah, for February, it's busy.
You want an off-season? You're not getting an off-season.
Not today, boys. I did want to start here with the trade of it's a transfer window. So I guess the transfer of Cucho Hernandez and the trade request of Myles Garrett, the trade of Luka Doncic over the weekend. And one thing that I see as a father of three young boys who gulp sports, who just love it to death, is a little bit of a receding of their fandom. And I think this is something that has been building for years, honestly. And this, you hate doing this when you're a man and you're 40 and you do the get off my lawn back in my day stuff. I find myself doing it more and more, which is not necessarily a good thing, but nevertheless, it's kind of where your head goes as you get older and you get a little bit of experience. I was a kid who grew up where I did, and I liked the teams that were good when I was a kid. There were no teams around me to go to. We weren't going to drive to go see the Seahawks play. We weren't going to go drive to see the Broncos play or the Supersonics or, the Minnesota Timberwolves barely existed when I was a little kid. So it's not like you were going to go see any of those teams play, so you just liked the teams that were good. So when I was young, it was the Bears, the Dodgers, and the Lakers. Those were the good teams. And so I grabbed those teams. In the case of the Lakers and Dodgers, it worked pretty good. In the case of the Bears, not so much. But the point of all of this is, as the team that I loved the most was the Los Angeles Lakers. And I had no ties to Los Angeles at all. They were just on TV. And you either liked the Lakers or the Celtics. When I was a kid, that was kind of the two choices. And I chose the Lakers because most of my family liked the Celtics, and I was adversarial at a young age. But the one thing that you had with that was a constant. You knew that Magic Johnson was going to play for the Los Angeles Lakers. He wasn't going anywhere. He was going to play his entire career there. And there was a comfort in that. There was certainty in that. Pro sports over the last 2 decades, the NBA, I coined this years ago, the AAUification of the NBA, when all of a sudden it was like, we want to go play with our buddies. So you started to see guys changing teams. The idea that LeBron James has played for 3 NBA teams. How many NBA teams has Kevin Durant played for? 20? He's the most lethal scorer I've ever seen. He's played for a ton of teams. I don't even know if I could count all of the teams that he's played for. If you try, is it 4? I think it's 4. I think he's played for 4 NBA teams, and he's the most lethal scorer you've ever seen. Luka Doncic is a 25-year-old. He just got traded. I was talking to the boys yesterday, and the reason I'm talking about all of this is I was talking to the boys. They were asking about the Myles trade, and obviously they're Browns fans. I do stuff with the Browns, and so they're Browns fans, and that's the way that it goes. And they were, of course, angry, bitter, but also like a little bit indifferent. And I think the reason for that is there isn't this incredible pull for their generation towards given players the way that there was for my generation, because you had consistency of player in uniform. It was very difficult to change teams. You were going to have the same guy. If you grew up a Dallas Cowboys fan, you were going to have Troy Aikman for his entire – he ain't going anywhere. Troy Aikman's a Dallas Cowboy. That's it. And in the NFL, they still have that at the quarterback position. But all of the other positions have become very transient. They have been. And so there is no certainty of it. There's a reason that so many of you out there listening who grew up Browns fans look back so fondly on the 80s Browns with Kosar. Or so many of you out there who are Bengals fans, whether it's Boomer Esiason or the Icky Shuffle or whatever, there's this moment in time of consistency that you had around those teams. And I think a lot of it is dissipating in terms of the kids. I see it with mine. They are what it's interesting. The one thing that they are still most loyal to, and some of it probably comes from me, is on the college side. Because why? They're rooting for laundry. In college sports, we're programmed for the transient nature of it. We are aware that the jerseys and the helmets, they will remain, but the players will come and go. So it's in the brochure. There will be new players here. Even in the old days, it was 3 or 4 years, and then it was more guys. Now it's 1 year. You root for a guy, but you root for the laundry. The transient nature of pro sports over the last couple of decades, I think it's impacting young kids and how fired up they are as professional sports fans. Imagine being a Crew fan yesterday, a kid, and saying, yeah, they transferred Cucho. What? Why? Why would we do that? Well, it's business, and they got a decent amount of money for it, and it'd be silly for me to speak on it beyond that. I mean, that's Brother Bone can do that, and Beam can do that, and they'd have a better handle on it than me, but that's how that happens. But you have to have that conversation with a kid. You have to have a conversation about Myles Garrett being traded from the Browns or not, or even asking to be traded from the Browns. Do you know how many Browns jerseys I own of players who aren't there? Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, Baker Mayfield.
I was going to say all of them.
I mean, there's so many. There's so many. You buy those things, you think, well, where the heck's Baker going? As it turns out, Carolina to Los Angeles to Tampa. So this is, I do think that professional sports, the teams have a bit of a problem when it comes to young fan retention and loyalty. I think they're in a spot right now. We're all still going to watch it because we can gamble on it, we can bet it, and live sports is as good as it gets. But in terms of decade upon decade, generation upon generation of loyalty, I think there's a recession that's happening that is happening at the very youngest level. It really is. And college sports, I don't see it with mine. Now, I'm just judging off of my kids. You may have a different circumstances. This is the one that I'm dealing with here, so it's one I'm talking about. With college, it's laundry. With pro sports, though, now, the transient nature, it's tough. It's very tough.
Yeah, it's access and business was kind of how yesterday went, where you have, Myles Garrett asking out because of business. You had the Cucho thing because of business. And with so many, I think, kids and so many players, singular stars, you have access to them all the time, all over the place. And so a lot of kids, a lot of youth are picking stars and picking the access that they have to them and how close they feel to them on a daily basis because of social media over the teams themselves. And I think you're seeing that in the NBA. I'm really interested to see with Luka going to Los Angeles. One, congratulations for you and your Lakers. But if that transfers, right, because he was a massive star in Dallas, and do kids become Lakers fans because this feels like a business decision by the Mavericks to kind of go into a little bit of a tank? Does the fandom go further west?
I don't think that they're Laker fans. I think they're Luka fans.
Right. They cheer for him winning.
Buddy of mine, yesterday on the show, buddy of mine, his kids love Luka Doncic. Now, he grew up a Celtics fan because he's my age, and if you're my age, you're either a Celtics fan or a Lakers fan. That's it. There's nobody else to root for. Like, this was before Jordan. Like, it was two teams, and he was Celtics. And all his kids love Luka. And the first person I texted at 5:45 in the morning on Sunday as I was getting up to go to youth basketball was him. And I said, I look forward to you buying all that purple and gold. They're going to need some purple and gold 77s jerseys, buddy. Get them ready. The Luka fans will go with him. They root for players. They do. Now, they still love their teams, right? They still love they love the Cavs. They love the Browns, all of that. But in terms of, like, the players they love, they'll follow them anywhere, and they can because, your point, Reese, it's so accessible.
Bo, the first time I really, really, really remember this being a thing was when LeBron left Cleveland the first time, and there were people mad, but there are LeBron James fans that will follow him anywhere, and we've seen that. And the Cleveland fans, they said, oh, we hate LeBron, we never want him, blah, blah, blah. He comes back, he wins them a championship. They all love LeBron again because he won it for their team. But I remember so many people became Heat fans because they were literally LeBron fans, and I can just hearken this to my own life. I was a huge basketball fan growing up.
Yeah.
And like you, Bo, I loved Magic Johnson. So I was a Lakers fan. And then when Magic left, I really wasn't a Lakers fan. I was just a Magic fan. And about that time, the Charlotte Hornets had come around, and I loved Larry Johnson, and I loved Muggsy Bogues, so I became a Charlotte Hornets fan. And then when they went away, I really haven't been I haven't followed the NBA really that much ever since. But when you have the teams that are closer to you, I think, like with the colleges, I think we won't ever have to worry about that because they're so close. Like the Browns left, that was already in me. There was 19 years of the Browns. I wasn't going anywhere, even though I probably should have took that time to run and find a new NFL team. But I stuck with the Browns. But in something like that, where I was a Magic fan, I've never really had an NBA fandom since.
Just be honest. You have teal pajamas.
I mean,
you do. Teal pinstripe pajamas.
Back in the day, I matched that up with my starter jacket. Looked good.
How much do you think you get for that starter jacket right now?
I wish I still had it.
Okay.
A little decent pull on that. Coming up next, the Myles trade request. What's next for the Browns on that front? Try to separate some fact from fiction coming up next. We're off and running on a Tuesday. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
A lot of hosts have been on our airways in the past 30 years. Some good, some bad, some really bad. Anyway, sorry for that. The Fan.
Home values in Columbus are sky high, and you have a ton of equity. Your financial advisor thinks the market has peaked. So if you're thinking about selling, it's time. Except for two things. High interest rates will burn you on a new home loan, and you're not ready to move. Savvy financial advisors suggest Truehold's new Sell and Stay program. It's ingenious because they buy your home now while its value is high, but you can stay in your home as long as you want with an easy, affordable lease. Smart, right? Truehold will make you a solid cash offer, not a lowball offer like the others. It's based on your home's current value. The cash is yours to travel, pay off bills, or secure your retirement. And again, you can stay in your home with a comfortable lease. Truehold covers property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. See how much Truehold will pay for your home today. Call 1-855-300-9993 or visit Truehold.com. The smarter, faster way to cash out your home's value without moving. That's Truehold.com.
Need inspiration? Shop Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals with savings beyond low prices. Like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Now's a great time to save on fresh Heritage Farm boneless chicken breasts. They're on sale for just $2.49 a pound with your card. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
That's are us. When dreams don't in, that's are us.
Right now, get $1,500 off a shower or tub replacement or $3,000 off a full bathroom remodel, plus low to no monthly payments. Call 380-225-BATH to schedule your free estimate or go to bathsareus.com. 380-225-BATH.
That's are us. When dreams don't in, that's are us.
Hey, what's up? It's T-Bone. Guys, listen up. How many of you out there have been diagnosed with sleep apnea? Maybe your partner can't tolerate your snoring every night. You can't stand your CPAP machine. I totally get it. But the good news is there are alternatives to the CPAP machine. And Dr. Mark Levy is here to change your sleep and your life. Trust me, your spouse will thank you later. Dr. Mark Levy can customize an oral appliance that opens your airways, helps you breathe better, and, of course, stops your snoring. That's the main point. It's quick and comfortable and an alternative to those bulky, loud CPAP machines you always hear about. For over 15 years, Dr. Mark Levy has led the way when it comes to treating snoring and sleep apnea, and now he's expanding his practice to better serve his patients with a brand new location in Marysville. I love Marysville. If you're snoring and not sleeping, you need to call Dr. Mark Levy's office today. Do not delay. Schedule your appointment today with Dr. Mark Levy at 1-800-MORE-SLEEP. That's 1-800-MORE-SLEEP. You can also visit him online at sleepbettercolumbus.com. And now, sleepbettermarysville.com too.
Rothman and Ice.
If your ego gets bruised that much to where you feel like you need to leave, that's not on Coach Day. They came out of that Oregon game and didn't sack Dylan Gabriel one time.
Rothman and Ice. Weekdays at noon.
Sponsored by Pella Columbus.
The Fan.
Have you ever told a friend?
Oh, I'm fine.
When you really felt?
Just so overwhelmed.
Or sent a text?
Can't sleep. Are you awake?
When you couldn't find the words to say?
I'm scared to be alone with my thoughts right now.
Then this is your sign to reach out to the 988 Lifeline for 24/7 free confidential support. You don't have to hide how you feel. Text, call, or chat anytime.
February is Children's Dental Health Month, so make sure you make an appointment for your child to visit an Ohio Dental Association member dentist. ODA member dentists are located throughout the state and are dedicated to providing the highest quality dental care, are bound by the highest ethical standards, and have access to superior ongoing education and training. On your next visit, ask if your child's dentist is a member of the Ohio Dental Association and American Dental Association, so you know you're being treated by the best. To find an ODA dentist in your area, visit ODA.org.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Looking at some sunshine this afternoon, high around 41. Tonight, cold, low 27. Cloudy on your Wednesday with a high of 37. And then as we head into Wednesday night, we'll be looking at some freezing rain that will transition to all rain as we get past midnight. I'm meteorologist Dylan Robichaud with your 10 weather impact forecast on 97.1 The Fan.
Common Man and T-Bone are idiots. You should listen to them anyway.
Weekdays from 3 to 6.
The Fan, Ohio's idiot destination. Sports conversation that's worthy of a toast, or at least a stiff drink. You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
And you get ready with the big game with Rothman and Ice, our buddies, live from Radio Row in New Orleans. Catch them Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, noon to 3 on The Fan and streaming live on The Fan's YouTube channel. Rothman and Ice, live from Radio Row. It's presented by Low T Center. Low T Center, reinventing men's health care. All right, let's get through what I think has happened with Myles Garrett and the Browns. And some of this is just, some of it's common sense and some of it's just been said, quite honestly. I believe the Browns have known about Myles' interest in a trade for a while now. I think they knew about it when Andrew Berry was at the Senior Bowl and said, we have no plans to trade Myles Garrett. And I think what probably happened on Monday was his intentions going public was kind of the next phase of this, which was him taking conversation that has, in his representation, taking conversations that have been had behind closed doors and then making those conversations public. There's a couple of things here, and I won't pretend to know what makes Myles Garrett tick. I've been around him a lot since 2018. Only interviewed him probably a handful of times through all of those years. Really like him. Really introspective dude. Elite intelligence. Has played hurt often. Far more than people realize, the stuff that he's played through. Bob made a great point on Morning Juice this morning that in much of his career, he has not been on the defense where the Browns had a big lead. So what that meant was those sack opportunities weren't there the way that they were for some other players because teams were oftentimes playing 4-minute offense to burn clock, and he wasn't able to get those sacks. But if you look at pressure rate, if you look at double team percentages, he routinely leads the league in both of those, and it's not particularly close. He is the one guy in the league that other offenses have to game plan around. He is going to go straight to Cleveland or wherever he finishes his career to Canton. He's going to go there on the first ballot. I always say this about Myles' greatness. He's so great, and he had to be, because if he wasn't, the idea that they passed on Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes in that draft would have been something you never could have gotten over. But you never hear people talk about that because Myles was great. He was great. It's a little bit like back in the 84 draft in the NBA when Akeem Olajuwon went to Houston. Everybody always threw stones at Portland for drafting Sam Bowie and not Michael Jordan at number 2 overall. No one ever talked about the fact that Houston didn't take Jordan because they got Akeem. And while he wasn't Jordan, he was great. Absolutely great. And that's the same thing here with Myles. He's not Mahomes, but he's great. He's the defensive equivalent of that and has lived up to all of it. So all of that to be said, I believe the Browns in their intent to have no plan of trading Myles Garrett. I am certain that that is the company line that Andrew Berry believes in. I believe that there is intent with that. I believe that there is intent in the organization to flip this thing very, very quickly back to competitiveness. What that will require is landing on these picks. What that will require is the number 2 pick in this draft, either landing them a franchise quarterback at number 2 overall, or that number 2 pick leading to the acquisition of a franchise quarterback going forward. That's the only option in terms of flipping this quickly. I believe them that there is no interest or plans of trading Myles Garrett. I believe that's their intent, and I get it totally. This is the part where I deviate from what they are thinking. This is a roster that got expensive and old pretty quickly. It did. If you start to go through their position groups and just say, well, they could use that in the draft, they could use that in the draft, they could use that in the draft. When you start doing that, you say to yourself, okay, they're not as close. They're not close to being Super Bowl contenders. And I don't think that's speaking out of school at all. They're 3-14. They currently do not have a franchise quarterback. So that's where they are. And in order to get to that level, there are a lot of boxes that need to be checked. So just me talking here, I look at this and I say, you know what? If you could land a haul the way that the Vegas Raiders landed a pretty good haul for Khalil Mack, that might be a win for everybody. That could be it, where you get multiple first-round picks, multiple second-round picks in this draft, in next draft, and you start to build this thing back with young talent. They haven't had a first-round pick in 3 years. You start building this thing back with young talent. There's a roadmap there. There's a roadmap there. Now, you got to hit on all the picks, but it's possible from my perspective, not them. I understand their vantage point. Franchise, cornerstone, building block, retire a Brown, go straight to Canton. I get it. But from my perspective, I look at this and go, there could be opportunity here. And for everybody, where Myles can go play for a team that's ready to contend for a Super Bowl right now, and the Browns who need a lot. I mean, just go through. They need quarterbacks. They need a weapon in the backfield. They need a number 2 or number 1A receiver. They might need a tackle. They need they probably need they definitely need probably a defensive tackle. If Myles stays, they're pretty good at defensive end, but if he doesn't, then they're going to need that. They don't know what's going on with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Or we don't. They may. We don't know what's going on with him. He got hurt and never returned the rest of the season. You're pretty good at corner. You're pretty good at safety. But that's a lot of needs. But the number one need is you got to have a quarterback. In that room, they may need 3 guys in that room. Here, whatever you think of Deshaun Watson, and I'm certainly entitled to all of it, he is not going to play next season. And that's not official. That's common sense. He tore his Achilles the second time at the end of the season. That's a full-year injury. So him contributing in 2025 is not in the cards. So you need an entirely new room at quarterback. And so whatever conversations you have with Myles about whether he wants, maybe this negotiating ploy, he wants to be the high, and I'm just throwing stuff at the wall now. Maybe he wants to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. Who knows? Who knows what that could be? But what we all know is without the quarterback, what do you have? And the short answer to that is not much.
It's been one of those reasons why the Chiefs are looking to three-peat in the Super Bowl. Yesterday, when this news came down about 11 o'clock, wasn't even supposed to be here. It was my day off. But I felt a strong sense of relief that Myles released that trade request publicly. Because there was, I forget when this was, that he had, it was a Friday, he did a news conference, and he had expressed his desire to sit down with the team and meet about a plan about what was going to be the future of this organization. And in the back of my head, I thought, well, right now I don't think they have one because there was still the difficulty with Deshaun Watson and his contract and his availability and all of that. And I'm like, I didn't know what actual plan they could present to Myles that would give him, as he gets into his 9th, 10th season in the league, a clear path to a Super Bowl. And so I thought that was Myles saying, I'm not sure I want to be here much longer with this, but I also don't want to come across as the guy while there were still games left in the season that I was going to quit on this team. Because, well, I think it would be absurd for anybody to say that Myles Garrett at all would quit on the Cleveland Browns. There would still be parts of the fan base say, I quit on the team. I didn't want to be here. I did this at the worst time. But I thought with Monday's news, that was it. It's done. I think everybody can move on. I think everybody should move on. It puts both teams, I think, in a decent spot. And I would never say the Browns are in a good spot. They won 4 games last season. But now Cleveland doesn't have to worry about what's Myles going to think about this move. Because now they have to think about where we're going to move Myles to that would give us the best return. I certainly don't expect Andrew Berry or maybe even Kevin Stefanski to come out and say that they're trading him. In fact, what Mary Kay Cabot reported yesterday, I expected, because that's part of this posturing. But now
they said that. You don't even need her reporting. They've said that directly. That we are not trading him.
Right.
Like, that's not even, you have to source it. Like, Andrew Berry said that twice. He said that at his end of the season press conference. He said it at the Senior Bowl. Directly. We're not.
That's all part of it.
Yeah, could be.
And I'll miss him because he's on the Mount Rushmore of Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate. I'm going to miss him. I hope they send him to an NFC team so I don't have to see him all that often. But I wanted them to do. I wanted Joe Thomas gone when there was that reporting that he was going to Denver. I was like, please send him somewhere where he can compete for a Super Bowl. And I want the same for Myles. But I also now want Cleveland to take this opportunity and make the most and best of it.
And I guess that's where I'm at with all this. I don't see the Browns winning a Super Bowl in the next 3 or 4 years with Myles Garrett on this team. So maybe they can use whatever they get from Myles Garrett to help them get to one in the not-too-distant future.
The number 2 pick is a life raft. This could be one, too. This could be one, too. It could also be a situation where they redo the contract, Myles is happy, and he continues to be part of the building blocks of that franchise going forward. It's all in play. It's all in play at this point. And I understand their organizational stance, but I'm looking at this from the outside looking in and thinking like you're thinking, Reese, and thinking, okay, there's an opportunity here to get some assets to turn this thing around and land on some picks. And that's part of it too. Because the whole goal has got to be to get to where Kansas City and Philly are. That's all that matters, is getting to the top of the mountain. You got to get there. And if you don't have the quarterback, you really don't have a chance. You've got to have that guy. And that's the job. The Super Bowl, Sunday, down in New Orleans. 1 minute from now, you'll hear from some of the principals as we kick off Super Bowl week. That's coming up in a minute from now. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
This ESPN Radio Black History Month moment is brought to you by National University.
Considered one of the best defensive players in NBA history, Bill Russell led the Boston Celtics to 11 championships and won 5 MVPs. In 1966, he became the first black coach in NBA history when he became the Celtics player coach. He led Boston to back-to-back titles in 1968 and 69. He was inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame in 1975.
Built for the dreamers and doers and history makers. Start your journey at nu.edu.
Welcome to TGL, presented by SoFi, golf's newest league. It's sharp and it's electric. How is it sharp? How is it electric? Good questions. Try this on for size. 2 hours of hammer dropping, overtime, forcing, playoffs on the line, golf. With 24 of the best players from the PGA Tour, split into 6 teams: Atlanta, Boston, Jupiter, LA, New York, and the Bay. This isn't your average Sunday pickup game. Tune in every week for TGL matches, only on ESPN. Keep up. It's golf.
Bishop and Friends is sponsored by Diamond Seller, your true jeweler for over 75 years. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
What's up? What's up, man? What's up with you?
Sponsored by High Bank Distillery, home of the best blended whiskey in America. Grab a bottle or dine in at their 3 restaurant locations: Grandview, Gahanna, and now in Westerville. Drink local. Drink High Bank.
High Bank bourbon out there, too. Here's what's up on a Tuesday. Super Bowl 59 is set for Sunday down in New Orleans. I think the overwhelming storyline leading into this thing will be Kansas City chasing history, trying to become the first team to three-peat. Obviously, we've seen these guys a lot. We've seen them a lot. 7 straight AFC championship games, going for their 3rd straight Super Bowl. They played in another one. They won one before that. They've been on this stage more than really any team. Even the New England stage was spread out over 20 years. You got to remember that. There was a stretch where they weren't involved in the Super Bowl at all in the late 2000s and early 10s before they had that kind of that second run. So this consistency from them has grown tiresome for some. It has not grown tiresome for Patrick Mahomes, who says getting to the Super Bowl never gets old.
I'm so appreciative of where I was drafted and the team that I have around me, and I know that it's a special run that we've been on. And so every time I'm here at media night or on this football field in the Super Bowl, I'm going to appreciate those moments because you never know what will be your last one.
So let's hear from Chris Jones, and I want to circle back on one other thing Mahomes had to say. Here's Chris Jones, the standout defensive tackle on the three-peat.
No, we don't talk about no three-peat. I think that's what we're here for. We understand that. We understand that we have one more game into the offseason. We can do whatever we want in the offseason. So I think our main focus right now is making sure we prepare for the Philadelphia Eagles.
The part I wanted to get to is the three-peat thing. That's your chasing history. That's what this will really be about if they can pull that off. By the way, Philly back on this stage again. This is their 3rd Super Bowl appearance in less than a decade, going for their 2nd Super Bowl. They've done it with different regimes. In terms of coaches, they've done it with different quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts trying to win his first. It feels to me overwhelmingly like everyone is rooting for Philly in this thing, and that the Chiefs have become public enemy number 1 in the NFL. Here is Patrick Mahomes on being the villain.
I don't even think it's embracing being the villains. We embrace who we are, and we believe we play the game the right way. We believe that we play with a lot of heart and a lot of passion for the game, and then we win football games. And if winning football games makes you a villain, we're going to keep going out there and doing it.
My kids can't stand them. They cannot stand the Chiefs. Like when I told Bootsy about Myles' trade request, he goes, "Oh, just trade him to the Chiefs then. Give them somebody." Like, I mean, just cannot stand them. Cannot stand the Chiefs.
And isn't it funny that when the Chiefs started this, the villain was Tom Brady and the Patriots, and that's who they were trying to get over the hump, and now it's totally switched, and now the Patriots and Mahomes are the villain.
I remember the Super Bowl that the Patriots are going for perfection. The entire Super Bowl party, and there were about 20 of us, were all just rooting for the Giants because you couldn't stand Tom Brady in that Patriots dynasty. And it's just like they're wearing red, and it's a different NFC East team that you're rooting for to just stop these. Like, can someone stop them, please?
Yeah, it's crazy because their path to this point, to the precipice of a three-peat, they've built it a totally different way. I mean, they've won Super Bowls going off of what they were. I mean, remember, like, they were the greatest show on grass, is what they were. And then they traded Tyreek Hill, and then they won, going from the most explosive offense we've ever seen with a unicorn at quarterback to like this team that just kind of got you to the 4th quarter and won and was clutch. But the problem with it is, and the reason they're the villain, is because we have seen them so much, and it's not just the games. You cannot go a sporting event commercial without seeing Travis Kelce or Patrick Mahomes. They're in every single ad. And so you get hit over the head with it. Then it went to an 11 with Travis starting to date Taylor Swift, the most famous woman on the planet. And so all of these factors, there's a fatigue of them. And I get it. Like, you don't want to watch them again. And I understand that. And I see it from my kid. Like, you get hit over the head. We saw the same thing with Steph Curry with Golden State. People are just sick of them. Like, it's enough. We've seen enough. We want to see new things. We build you up, and then what's the line from Batman? You're the hero long enough, you live long enough, you end up being the villain. That's kind of the thing that happens here, where you're just on the stage so much, you get battered over the head with it for so long that you're like, enough. And I think that's kind of where a lot of people are. I'm not there. I like anybody who's listened to me for a long time, and thank you so many of you who have. Give me the history. Give me the excellence. Like, when Tom Brady and those guys got to the Super Bowl undefeated, finish it. I was sick of seeing Mercury Morris and Larry Zonka toast champagne as being the last undefeated team. Let me see perfection. Let me see that. Unless they're going against my team, I like to see greatness, right? I'm not the guy rooting for Bob May to beat Tiger Woods. Like, I want to see Tiger Woods go win another major. That's what I would like to see. So I'd like to see the Chiefs. I'll be rooting for them. I hope they get their third in a row. I don't hate them. I think Mahomes is fun to watch. I certainly understand why people do, though, because there is a fatigue with seeing them all the time.
Well, I have trouble remembering. So obviously, like the Lakers and Celtics, you had hate because it was those two. So you had people that took both sides. Mm-hmm. And I remember the beginning of Jordan, and he had to get through the Pistons. And obviously the Pistons and the Bad Boys, they had their fans. But I don't remember the hate for Jordan and those Bulls, kind of like we've had in football with Brady and Mahomes here with the Patriots and the Chiefs. Maybe it was there, and maybe it was different because after the three, Jordan took the time off and then he came back. I just don't remember it being the same for them, though.
I think it's a good point. I think because, in a way, I think Jordan was just so infinitely cool. He was just so cool. Like, what shot? The other thing is, this part's 100% real. You weren't bludgeoned over the head with Jordan. Jordan had two, and Fish could correct me on this. He's a Chicago guy, but the only endorsements I remember Jordan having as a kid were Nike and Gatorade.
Like, you wasn't doing insurance spots?
He had a little.
Not that I remember. I think you remember the Nike ads, which were so cool. Like the Spike Lee ads, those were so cool. So like, you would wait for that premiere of the Nike ad with Jordan, and it was just so cool. And then the other thing that I remember was just the Gatorade ads, which was "Be like Mike." I want to be like Mike. Like that's. I'm sure he pitched. Well, he pitched Haynes too, maybe later.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was in his playing career or not. Maybe it was. So he had a little of it, but there also wasn't social media. There was a mystery around Michael Jordan. He operated in the shadows. You weren't. Like with social media, he wasn't doing a podcast with his brother. You know what I mean? Like it was everything that Jordan did was quiet. And we found out later in life that perhaps there was a reason for that. He liked having, that anonymity that these guys don't have. And I think that probably contributes to the younger people's dislike of the Chiefs is they're bludgeoned with them.
Yeah, it goes back to just they're available all the time.
Constantly.
And I think even for Mahomes, you had social media, I'll call them issues, with members of his family that fairly or unfairly get lopped on to Patrick. And so all the accessibility that we spoke about in the first segment of the program, that can either be a boost or that can be an ankle weight. And I think in the Chiefs' case, obviously the winning cures all of it, but there's that fatigue because it's just like, I don't know if I like them or not as people, but I know I definitely don't like watching them win as much as they're doing.
Yeah, I don't understand how, other than you think he gets all of the calls, and you can say, well, he's asking for calls, he's flopping for calls. Well, everybody does that. Every quarterback does that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how somebody couldn't like Patrick Mahomes.
Beats me. I don't get it. I don't. Mike, I'm telling you, they don't. They don't. And I just think you just get sick of it. We see this. I mean, we've seen this in college sports. Tyler Hansbrough at North Carolina, like a 4-year player. Christian Laettner at North Carolina or at Duke. You think about like Tebow at Florida. It's like, oh, just go away. It's enough. I've seen you enough. And so you see that sometimes in college, and I think you do see it. I think the Brady example is a good one. There was the thing, though, that is interesting, the big difference between the Belichick-Brady run in New England, obviously the length of it, but the other part that was different is, I mean, there was Deflategate and Spygate. There's none of that with the Chiefs. There's none of it. Who's more lovable than Andy Reid? I mean, he's as likable a guy as kids aren't, but he is. He's as likable a guy as you're going to find. And so he's easy to root for. The organization historically has had some of the best fans ever. There's really, you got to go all the way back to like the pride of Alliance, Ohio, Len Dawson, to find like what's that, Super Bowl III that they won? Like beyond that, when I was a kid, there wasn't much. I mean, they had a little bit of a run with Christian Okoye, and Joe Montana came in there kind of late in his career and had a little bit of fun, but they were never a serious operation like this. I mean, this would be like if this were happening in Cleveland or Detroit or Buffalo. Like, that's the type of outpost Kansas City is in the league.
Now, thinking about Boston sports fan, when you make that comparison, it's like they might be on a short list for worst city in terms of their sports fans. Boston. Because Brady was doing with that Patriots dynasty for that city, it harkened a lot of people back to the Celtics teams. And where you saw with Showtime that on HBO, like bleep Boston, a lot of people have been saying that for a long time. Nobody's saying bleep Kansas City. Like,
no.
It's not what they heard.
No, it's not at all. So I think I guarantee you on Sunday as we're watching the game that I will be the only one that's pulling for KC. Everybody else will be pulling for Philly. And I think it will be kind of an overwhelming story this week. I know there's fatigue of seeing these two teams, but when you're chasing greatness like this, it's rarefied air. I mean, no one's ever even won two and played in a third. Like, that's never happened. So there's no precedent for this where they are. Jackets at Sabres tonight. We did get an update on Kirill Marchenko in terms of how long he could be out. We got that from Porty. We'll get into that coming up next. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
If you consider yourself a Buckeye fan, you've come to the right place. This is your heritage sports talker and home of Ohio State Athletics, The Fan, Ohio's sports destination.
Get ready to make the big game even bigger at the ESPN Bet Sportsbook at Hollywood Casino Columbus. With 2 massive jumbotrons, over 50 feet of screen, and more than 30 TVs, you won't miss a single play, touchdown, or highlight. Fuel your game with mouthwatering food and bucket specials. Plus, warm up with our pregame cornhole toss for your chance to win big before kickoff. Reserve your table now for the best seat in the house. Visit HollywoodColumbus.com for more details. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966.
My house has a new glow. I love my windows. Universal Windows Direct.
Buy 2 windows, get 2 free, and there's no limit. Plus, no interest financing for 3 years. That's 36 months, people. And if you already have a price from another company, Universal Windows Direct will beat it. So you know you're getting the best deal around.
I love my windows. They've got that brand new home effect. Universal Windows Direct.
For a limited time at Speedway, get 2 big pizza slices and your favorite Coca-Cola 20-ounce for only $5 with Speedy Rewards. Choose from Classic 3-Cheese, Pepperoni, or Extreme Meat Pizza. Save big with the $5 meal deal with Speedy Rewards. Only at Speedway. Valid through 3/4/25. See app for full terms.
How'd you like to wipe out all that credit card debt to start the new year off right? Hey, it's Bobby Carpenter. Stop getting fleeced by the credit card companies. If you own your home, go to AFLcash.com now. Advantage First Lending can help you unlock that equity and get you tens, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's AFLcash.com. You can pay off all your credit cards and other high-interest debt super fast. Consolidate all your bills into one low monthly payment. AFLcash.com can help you tap into your home's equity to give you some serious cash so you can go into 2025 with less stress and more confidence. Get the cash you need from Advantage First Lending now. Most homeowners don't even need an appraisal. How great is that? Get on solid financial footing. Go to AFLcash.com. That's AFLcash.com or call 844-394-CASH. 844-394-CASH.
Equal Housing Lender. NMLS 1209177. Subject to lender approval. NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
You know that project you've been working on? Just chipping away at it, dreaming of the day you get to show it off? Then, when you're least expecting it, cancer. And finishing that project actually happens. I would know. I've been restoring this car for years, and today I'm giving it to my granddaughter. It's her 16th birthday and 2 years since my cancer diagnosis.
Mom, you finished it?
Happy birthday, boo-boo. You keep making plans.
Visit ohiohealth.com/keepmakingplans to learn more.
Scotty Vegas here. Big game this Sunday, which means parties, drinks, and food. The exact scenario Awaken 180 was built for. Why? Because you eat to lose weight. Do it once, enjoy the process, then receive free support for life. Awaken180weightloss.com.
A.J. Hawk won a national title, a Super Bowl, and a Lombardi Award, but his weekly appearance on Morning Juice, Fridays at 8:33, is the real highlight of his career. If he tells you otherwise, he's lying.
Sponsored by FanDuel.
The Fan.
Some things you wouldn't mind being stuck with, like a huge inheritance. But a phone that has to be plugged in just right so it charges is not one of those things. Switch to Verizon and we'll pay off your old phone up to $800 via prepaid MasterCard for a new one on us. Just trade in any phone from our top brands with select unlimited plans. $829.99 purchase with new smartphone line on select unlimited plans. Minimum $90 per month with auto pay plus taxes and fees for 36 months required. Less $830 trade-in/promo credit applied over 36 months. Trade-in terms apply. Payoff phone requires smartphone purchase and port in with new smartphone line on select plan. Must provide most recent bill showing payoff amount of eligible phone. Additional terms apply.
With Progressive customer service, there are lots of ways to connect with us, so you never have to miss a second of your favorite sport. Because you'd much rather watch a ball go through a net 124 times in 48 minutes when you don't really have to pay attention until the last two, and then somehow those 2 minutes will take an hour. You don't want to miss all that. Luckily, you can chat with Progressive on our app, online, or over the phone without missing a single one of those times the ball goes through the metal circle. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
All your favorite fan shows are available when you want them.
Head to 971thefan.com and hit that subscribe button.
The Fan, Ohio sports destination. Drink recommendations, movie reviews, sports discussion, or whatever the hell Reeser does. This is Bishop and Friends.
Wolfman Matt with us on social. We were talking about the Myles trade. We led the hour talking about youth and the transient nature of sport. He brings up a good point. You're right about the youth and transient teams, but a superstar like Burrow is the exception to that rule. Guys like that transform a generation. They do. That's fact. We've seen that. Is he the answer to the question of, Myles is close. Like, team in Ohio, if that guy demanded a trade, the walls fall down? Is he the number? It is Burrow, isn't it? Because I think if you are with the Reds, you just assume that Ellie De La Cruz is not going to play his entire career in Cincinnati. You just assume that.
I for sure
resigned to that fact.
That. I assume he's going to be in New York or LA here in a few years.
Yeah, like with the Gardos, it would be Ramirez is like their guy, but he's getting a little bit up there in age. I don't expect him to finish his career with the Guardians. With the Cavaliers, people were prepared for Donovan Mitchell to leave before he signed his extension. So I don't know that there's. They've already lost LeBron, so they've lost him twice. So I don't know that there's anybody that would ever compare. LeBron was the answer, but then he left, and so
it's Burrow and
it's Burrow in second, eighth. I think. I think Myles might be second. I was thinking from the Blue Jackets' perspective, would it be Werenski?
Maybe Z. That'd be the Z. Maybe some people might say Boone, but
it's Werenski.
I think it's Werenski, and it might even be Fantilli beyond that, based on what you think.
Don't put that out there. Come on.
Yeah. No, when you think about I'm not putting any of it out there, but you dealt with Cucho, but I think in soccer you are expected. We've seen Zelarayan, we've seen how those type of players don't stick around. The MLS has two things, right? You either get them young and you hope that they develop and you develop them into something. You get them young and you develop them into something, then you sell them at profit. Or you get them old on after their tour in Europe is completed. And that's kind of the way that goes. But I do Burrow is number one on that list. And I think two might be Myles.
I think with Burrow too, you get the fact that he's an Ohio kid. Grew up in Athens, played in the shoe for a state championship, came to Ohio State first, and then went to LSU. So, yeah, I think you got that Ohio tie with Burrow, too, that's all wrapped up in there.
And it's almost – there's never a situation where quarterbacks never change in their prime. They just – elite throwers of the football do not change. So you're not going to have to worry about that, Bengals fans. You're going to be fine. There won't be any of that. They got a lot to sort out at receiver and such, but – Joe Burrow is going to be a Cincinnati Bengal, and that's just part of it. You just don't ever see those guys trade hands, or trade teams rather. Porty's been all over this in the reporting on Kirill Marchenko and the injury. He had surgery in Dallas, according to Porty yesterday. The insertion of metal plates and screws to stabilize the broken bones. No timetable offered by the Jackets, but plates/screws could allow for a quicker return, as little as a month, than if his jaw was wired shut. So that could be great news there. This happened while he was on the bench.
Unreal.
Which is crazy. It sucks so bad for him, and it's coming off of unbelievable goal the previous Saturday against the Kings. But this is some good news here from what Porty is saying, that, and it's a 1 in a million shot. You're sitting there on the bench minding your business, you take a puck to the jaw. Like, it's, how the hell's that happen? But that's part of that sport, I guess.
Yeah, it's what's surprising is that it doesn't happen more often. That's what's kind of surprising, actually. The 4 to 6 weeks, best case scenario, that puts him back right around the outdoor game, just after the outdoor game, if you get the 4 weeks part of it. But then, again, it all depends on how this heals, and thankfully he didn't have to get it wired shut, which would have put you at the 6 to 8, which makes it longer. The one saving grace in all of this, Bo, is you have a 2-week break here coming up with this Four Nations break. So that's nice that you're not losing as many games as possibly you would have.
Yeah, I was concerned with that break coming up with, as well as this team had played, and then they're off for 2 weeks. Does that slow momentum down? But after Sunday night, I'm like, well, that could be good so nobody else gets injured.
They're at Buffalo tonight. Why did they do the Four Nations?
So it's just kind of in place of the All-Star break this year. I think to probably
it'll be better.
I think it's to throw the players a bone because they didn't have the Olympic break. This
isn't like a World Cup. Like this is a made up thing, right?
Yeah, they did this a couple years ago with where they had the Canadian team, American team, and then they did like a North American team that was 23 years old and younger players. They've done this a couple times, just some things to change it a little bit, and I believe it's because they haven't been doing the Olympics.
Okay, but we don't have, so it's Sweden, Finland, us, and Canada?
That's correct.
Okay, if you don't have Eastern European bloc, like, you don't have Russia. What are we doing? Russia's got to be involved.
Seems a little crazy. And there would be a lot of jackets on the Russian team, by the way.
Of course. Like, you need to, they're the worthy adversary.
I don't know, man. It feels like all the Russians for the Blue Jackets, you put them in bubble wrap for 2 weeks.
No, I agree. I just mean big picture entertainment value from the league. I'm not going to get as jacked up to play Finland or Sweden as I would be if you're playing
You want
Russia.
the best in the world. You've got to, regardless of how you feel about Russia, you've got to include Russians in this if you want to truly test who's the best.
Dude, I'm a child of the Cold War.
Yep.
Like, give me Red Dawn. Like, put a hammer and sickle on the sweater. Let's go. Like, I
feel like you do kind of need to lean into it. Yeah. Have Ivan Drago lead them out there.
Yeah, that's what I need.
Maybe that's what they're waiting for, because there's still, you said 3 games up until this break. They're waiting till the break to announce new entrant, Russia.
God, do you guys remember that anthem, the Soviet anthem? Beck, you remember that as a kid? The Soviet anthem, when you hear that at the Olympics?
I don't have like a vivid remembrance of it. Like, I do remember, but I don't. I couldn't tell you what it sounds like.
Dude, will shake you to the core. The Soviet anthem to your core. God. I remember hiding under my desk. We used to do nuclear things. We'd have to hide under our desk in case there was a nuclear attack. Like, you want to have a Four Nations. One of them's got to be Russia. Obviously not Soviet Union anymore, but my goodness, they got to be in the mix.
And there might be something in there where Russia hasn't been allowed in the Olympics the last couple times because of things IOC, like that. Right? So yeah, I don't know exactly what it is.
Do with that, man, you're gonna have nations. You gotta have. I think the Russians got to be involved. You need a worthy adversary. They certainly fit the bit on that. All right, second hour of the program coming up next. We start it with the real truth. Bishop and Friends, right here on the Fan.
The only radio show Ryan Day listens to when we're holding him hostage, making him listen to a radio show. The Buckeye Show.
Weeknights at 6.
The Fan.
I'm Leslie from Pella, Columbus.
And I'm Wilson from that other window place.
One thing we keep hearing here in town, Wilson, is that the cost of Pella windows actually pleasantly surprises most people.
Pleasantly surprised?
You get the Pella next level quality and looks, but we also have 5 different lines to fit most budgets.
Our customers are almost always surprised, but it's never pleasant. Is there such thing as like angrily surprised?
Price is a little high?
Oh no, they're a lot high.
Get the window that Columbus homeowners rate the leading and most trusted at PellaColumbus.com.
Get Eco.
ECO. Aaron, I've been thinking. About what? About how you invented a way to fix ACs for free.
Get Eco.
ECO. When customers buy a new HVAC system, we give back all the money they paid us to repair their old system. Yeah, I know. Up to $1,500.
Get Eco.
ECO. We're basically extending the life of their old system for free.
That's right. Those extra years are free on me.
Don't you think it would be better if we said those extra years are a plus on us?
Sure, we can say that if you want.
I think it would be better.
Get Eco.
ECO.
We don't want people to forget that you have a silent partner.
Remind me, how did we become partners?
Aaron, we became partners when you let me move into your spare office, and I began giving you free advice instead of paying rent.
Get Eco.
ECO.
Oh yeah, now I remember. Best deal I ever made.
I feel that way too.
Get Eco.
ECO.
Eco. Plumbers, electricians, and HVAC technicians. GetEco.com.
Breaking news coming in from Bet365, where every 6-5. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Ohio.
Hey, it's Anthony. I got to tell you, when you don't have the support you need, it affects everything. Feet, knees, hips, back, even your mood. I finally went to the Good Feet store, and once I was personally fitted for my arch supports, I felt a ton better. I will never wear another pair of shoes again without sliding in my personally fit Good Feet arch supports. That's because they help me eliminate my foot pain. It's such a good feeling knowing that I can be on my feet and not worrying about I'm going to wake up with low back pain or feel a weakness somewhere. I trust the Good Feet store because for more than 30 years, they've helped thousands of people just like me get back to feeling comfort on a daily basis. They take pleasure in that. And it's their personal 3-step system designed to support, balance, and strengthen your feet that guides them into their ideal position. I'm the proof. I wear them every day, even when I'm biking at the gym. So go in, take the free test walk at the Good Feet store on Polaris Parkway and on Stringtown Road in Grove City or goodfeet.com.
Some things you wouldn't mind being stuck with, like a huge inheritance. But a phone that has to be plugged in just right so it charges is not one of those things. Switch to Verizon and we'll pay off your old phone up to $800 via prepaid MasterCard for a new one on us. Just trade in any phone from our top brands with select unlimited plans. $829.99 purchase with new smartphone line on select unlimited plans. Minimum $90 per month with auto pay plus taxes and fees for 36 months required. Less $830 trade-in/promo credit applied over 36 months. Trade-in terms apply. Payoff phone requires smartphone purchase and port-in with new smartphone line on select plan. Must provide most recent bill showing payoff amount of eligible phone. Additional terms apply.
I had the worst dream last night. You were in a car crash, and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
That's awful, hon.
My brother was saying he got life insurance from Ethos. With Ethos, it only took 10 minutes, and he got $2 million in coverage for around $2 a day. It's all online. No medical exam. He just answered a few health questions right from his house.
Ethos, here we come.
Visit getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Sample rate is a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. Billed monthly.
Broadcasting from the Lindsay Honda Studios.
Honda makes the cars. Lindsay makes the difference. Visit lindsayhonda.com.
WBNS-FM, HD1 Columbus. The Fan. Sports Center.
Good morning. I'm Eric Reeser. The Blue Jackets put a bow on a 4-game road trip tonight in Buffalo. Face-off against the Sabres is 7 p.m. We'll have pregame coverage on the Fan at 6:30. Jackets are currently tied with the Red Wings with 59 points in the race for the first wildcard spot in the East. CBJ are back on home ice Thursday against Utah. On Monday, the team put Kirill Marchenko on injured reserve following surgery to repair a broken jaw. It was suffered on Sunday in their loss at Dallas. No official timetable on his return. In the NBA tonight, the Cavaliers host the Celtics at 7:30. The season series is tied at a game apiece. Cleveland is an NBA best 24-3 at home this season. In college hoops, the 8th-ranked Ohio State women's squad is at top-ranked UCLA tonight at 9:30. Maddie Andrews will have the call over on ESPN Columbus with pregame at 9:15. Buckeyes are at number 7 USC Saturday night at 9. This update sponsored by Germain Toyota, the best selection of new and used cars in Central Ohio. View their full selection of vehicles at germaintoyota.net.
The friends are the guests and listeners. Reeser and Baker just work here.
Back to work. Back to work. Everybody. Work, 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 work.
You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
All right, second hour here on a Tuesday edition. Uncle Dom set to join coming up at 10:30. Ryan Day, very candid with Joel Klatt. We'll have that for you in about 17 minutes from now. Right now, time for The Real Truth.
Bishop and Friends present The Real Truth.
Sponsored by Diamond Cellar. Over 76 years of experience and guaranteed lowest prices on Sawmill Road or diamondcellar.com.
Interesting how you mentioned Ryan Day.
Oh, baby.
The Buckeyes head coach will hire both coordinators, offensive and defensive, from within. Is that the real truth?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it will end up being the real truth. Now, I think you could see a co-coordinator situation. I wouldn't be surprised at all if, for example, Kevin Wilson came back in and he was part of the equation, but I think Brian Hartline will be elevated back into that mix, and I think it might be a chance for Brian to call plays a little bit. I think Ryan has earned a great deal of leeway by winning the national championship with how he wants to build this however he wants to. And I think the same thing could be true on the defensive side, whether it's Matt Guerrieri or Walton or even Threes. I do think there's a really good chance that both of these coordinators are hired from within, and the offensive line coach / that position could come from the outside going forward. But, yeah, I do think it's more likely than not that both of the coordinators will be from within.
So I think it's the real truth with a twist, like you said there, Bo, because it sure seems like somehow on the defensive side of the ball that Matt Guerrieri is going to be involved in this in some way as at least a co-defensive coordinator. Technically, Brian Hartline is still a co-offensive coordinator. I mean, that was his title the past couple of years, and that never changed, even with Chip Kelly coming in. I do think they will bring someone in, though, to help Brian Hartline. So I think you're still going to have that co-offensive coordinator, like you said, Bo, with Hartline, whether it be a Kevin Wilson or someone else. I do think someone from the outside will be coming in to help on the offensive side of the ball.
The Cleveland Browns will trade Myles Garrett. Is that the real truth?
Who wrote this? I think they will. This is just me. This isn't scores. It's not any of it. I know their intent is not to. I know their intent is to work their tails off to put a team that is competitive in the AFC North on the field next year, and I think there's a roadmap to do it. I think it could be the number 2 pick in the draft. I think they can be creative in terms of trades and so forth and restructures. But I do think in the end that maybe the best for both would be to do this. And that's just the business side of it. If you take the fandom out of it, the business side is you went 3-14 with him, and he was great. He was unbelievable. Very worthy of being back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year. But the reality is that if you don't have the quarterback, everything else is kind of just in place. You're kind of wasting time. I mean, just think about this. For as great as the Pittsburgh Steelers have been for Mike Tomlin's entire tenure, the Browns have a playoff win more recently than Pittsburgh does. Why? Because the Pittsburgh Steelers don't have Ben Roethlisberger anymore. And when you don't have that quarterback, there's a ceiling to what you can be. So they got to do whatever they can to put themselves in position. I'll give NBC credit. He mentioned this on the way in to when I was dropping him off at school this morning. He goes, Dad, they should drink a quarterback at number 2. And if that doesn't work, he goes, who's the quarterback in 26? I said, I don't know. He goes, well, if you draft a quarterback at 2 and he's bad, you can draft another one the next year. I agree. I would keep drafting quarterbacks until you land one. Because without them, you're just going nowhere in terms of trying to win the ultimate prize, which is the Super Bowl. And if you're not trying to do that, then what are you doing?
Yeah, this should be the real truth, and I think it is the real truth. I don't think anybody gains anything from having an unhappy Myles Garrett on your team. I think, Reese, you were conversing with someone in the YouTube chat, and you talked about the game of chicken. That doesn't seem like it's going to benefit anyone here in this situation. So trade Myles. This Browns roster isn't nearly as close as it was 3 or 4 years ago when they did win that playoff game. So trade Myles, load up on as much as you can. Hopefully they hit with the draft picks or they use them to bring in established players. But yeah, this needs to be the real truth.
Travis Kelce will still be playing football in 3 seasons. Is that the real truth?
Is he saying he is? Or is that we're just guessing a number on 3?
So he was asked yesterday at the Super Bowl media availability where he saw himself in 3 seasons, and he said, hopefully still playing football.
I don't sense that. Right? I mean, what is he age-wise? Is he? I think he's older than we think.
He's 35, I believe I saw this morning. Yeah. So he'd be 38 then.
No, no. I don't think he'll still be playing football 3 seasons. And I think he'll have a lot of options. I mean, he's really good on Saturday Night Live. He's really good on a podcast with his brother. He's probably going to marry the most famous woman on the planet. Like, there's going to be a lot of options for Travis Kelce in the next 3 or 4 years beyond ramming his head against other people twice his size in some instances. So, no, I don't think that's the real truth, that he'll still be playing football in 3 years.
Yeah, I don't think this is the real truth either. I think just from last year to this year, we saw a huge decline in what he could do week in and week out. Now, he's still been great in this playoff run for them, but he couldn't do it all year. It didn't seem like he has in the past. Dana White always talks about this. He says when retirement creeps in at all, it's probably time to get out. And I don't know if retirement's creeped into Kelsey's mind at all, but there's been a lot of smoke about it the last couple of years. In fact, a lot of people thought he might have retired last year after the Super Bowl win. So I don't think this is the real truth.
Luka Doncic will lead Bo's Lakers to multiple NBA championships. Is that the real truth?
Been a long time since they've been my Lakers. It's been a long, long time. But, yes, he will. Do you know why I know that? Because that's what the Lakers do. For 50 years, that's what they do. They go get faces of the league, they insert them into their lineup, they put players around them, and they win titles. It would be absurd to think that Luka Doncic, if he plays the rest of his career in Los Angeles, which very likely he will now, because nobody wants to leave there. I saw get up this morning, Greeny was trying to, will LeBron James to the Warriors, and, Windhorst was exasperated. What are we doing? LeBron James wants to be a Laker. He wants to live in Los Angeles. That's it. And that's the reality of this, is it's a great place to live. It's the iconic franchise in the NBA in terms of consistent winning. I know Boston's won more titles, but in terms of consistent winning, it's the pinnacle. They're worth $7 billion. People are always going to want to play in that uniform. He will get guys to go around him. Of course, he's going to win championships with the Lakers. He is 25 years old, guys. He hasn't even reached his prime yet. 100% he's going to win multiple championships there. Real truth.
It's funny, when I first saw this morning in our show sheet, I was thinking, well, I don't know how I can answer this because I don't know. He's got LeBron now, but what's he going to have after LeBron leaves? And then it's funny that you said what you said, Bo, because I was like, it's the Lakers. They're always going to go get someone else. They might get 2 or 3 more guys. So, Luka did it last year with Kyrie and a not great Dallas Mavericks team. He got them to the finals at least. I'd have to think with LA and their resources, yeah, he's going to win multiple titles there.
I've seen a bunch of takes about this trade. My favorite one is the Mavericks didn't want Luka anymore because he was fat and out of shape. And I said, well, if there's even a modicum of truth to that, going to Los Angeles to play for the Lakers, that'll get him unfat and in shape real quick.
Dude, you know what I said yesterday when we were talking about this, Reese? When they were, he was fat and he is 25 years old. He's a 5-time first-team All-NBA who drugged them to the finals last year. So if that's what he does when he's fat and out of shape and likes to have a beer, what do you think he's going to be watching how LeBron takes care of his body? This is theft. You just don't trade people like this. You don't do this.
Did you guys see the video yesterday going around social media? I believe it was after they won the Western Conference last year, and we're going to the NBA Finals. It's exactly Luka in a hallway, and he's being interviewed, and he has a beer in his hand while he's being interviewed, and I think it was the GM came by and took it away from him and, whispered something in his ear, and Luka, as he walks away, just kind of has this look like, whatever, man. And a lot of people were like, that's when the rift started right then.
Yeah, I'm sure it was that. Doing? I do think there was a little bit of a rift, and I think there was a member of the Texas state legislature that had a really good rabbit hole conspiracy, if you're into that sort of thing, which I am, talking about how this is the Mavericks' attempt to tank in order to, A, force a move to Vegas, or pressure the Texas state legislature to pass gambling so they can build a new arena in Dallas or around Dallas that has a casino attached to it. But I'll tell you what, it made a little bit more sense.
Adelson family owns them now. The Vegas, that's who owns the Mavericks. They own the majority of it. You just don't trade 25-year-old for 5-time first-team All-NBA guys without at least soliciting the whole league. They didn't even ask anybody else.
Nobody else.
Made one call.
That's the wildest part about this.
Aren't you calling Boston and being like, hey, I don't know, we kind of like Tatum. What do you think about Luka for Tatum?
If you're serious.
What about Giannis?
About winning, you are doing exactly what you're saying.
Wouldn't you call Cleveland and go, give us Garland, Mobley, and a 1? Like, you're calling everybody, aren't you?
If you're serious.
We don't like that he misses games. Let's go get AD.
Good. Yeah, right. Jeez. And I do think Dallas will be fine. I mean, Kyrie and AD will be... AD's still a really good player. He's just 32. Wild. Absolutely wild stuff. All right, Ryan Day was on with Joel Klatt. A lot of good stuff came from this. And I think it was just the distance between the championship and the interview which led to this. But a lot of good stuff on where the sport is at the moment, what his last 2 weeks are about, some of the things we've harped on for months in terms of fixing the calendar. Day addresses all of it. You'll hear some of that coming up next. Bishop and Friends, right here on The Fan.
Head to 971thefan.com to listen on demand and subscribe to all our podcasts. Wasting time has never been easier. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Hey there, friends. Bo Bishop here. The best time of the year for football is finally here. The big game has arrived, and fans are excited to see you'll be hoisting the trophy in New Orleans. You can get in on all the action at ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Check out their big game giveaway promo for your chance at $1 million in prizes. 25 winners will walk away with $10K in cash. 7,500 winners will get $100 in bonus bets. No deposit or bet required. Opt in today in the ESPN Bet Sportsbook app. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
They're trained. They're fired up.
Let's do it.
When you need heat, they can't be beat. They're Ohio State's undefeated heating and cooling team. For plumbing, drain, heating, and cooling, there's only one team. The Waterworks. Better care, better value, better results. Call the Waterworks at 614-232-2222 or visit them online at thewaterworks.com. A proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Hey, what's up? It's T-Bone. Guys, listen up. How many of you out there have been diagnosed with sleep apnea? Maybe your partner can't tolerate your snoring every night. You can't stand your CPAP machine. I totally get it. But the good news is there are alternatives to the CPAP machine. And Dr. Mark Levy is here to change your sleep and your life. Trust me, your spouse will thank you later. Dr. Mark Levy can customize an oral appliance that opens your airways, helps you breathe better, and, of course, stops your snoring. That's the main point. It's quick and comfortable and an alternative to those bulky, loud CPAP machines you always hear about. For over 15 years, Dr. Mark Levy has led the way when it comes to treating snoring and sleep apnea, and now he's expanding his practice to better serve his patients with a brand new location in Marysville. I love Marysville. If you're snoring and not sleeping, you need to call Dr. Mark Levy's office today. Do not delay. Schedule your appointment today with Dr. Mark Levy at 1-800-MORE-SLEEP. That's 1-800-MORE-SLEEP. You can also visit him online at sleepbettercolumbus.com. And now, sleepbettermarysville.com too.
It's been a great run. Care Heating and Cooling has achieved goals I could only imagine 30 years ago. But now it's time for the next generation to take over. This is Mike Weens, now the retired founder of Care Heating and Cooling with my sons, Dennis and Ryan.
Dad, I remember you saying that a family business should reflect family values, that a customer deserves to be treated with kindness and compassion.
And those values will never change. The reputation you built for being fair and honest is our greatest asset.
In fact, in 2024, Care was awarded a BBB Torch Award for ethics and named the Lennox Partner of the Year.
You don't earn those awards by leaving cat toys behind. It's an honor to continue serving Central Ohio as a locally owned, family-run business.
So, whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just honest advice, Care is here for you.
Call Care Heating and Cooling at 1-800-COOLING or schedule an appointment online at careheatingandcooling.com. When you need a company you can trust.
What's the best way to make sure you don't miss any of your favorite fan shows? Oh no. Download the Fan app, silly.
Ah, damn it, I knew that.
App Store, Google Play, or just scream right at your phone. Psst, you can also listen to Buckeye games. Do it now.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy real estate as is fast for cash. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family. I even buy my tenants won't pay me the rent houses. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Have you ever told a friend?
Oh, I'm fine.
When you really felt...
just so overwhelmed.
Or sent a text? Can't sleep. Are you awake? When you couldn't find the words to say,
I'm scared to be alone with my thoughts right now.
Then this is your sign to reach out to the 988 Lifeline for 24/7 free confidential support. You don't have to hide how you feel. Text, call, or chat anytime.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Looking at your weather report, we are tracking a sunny day today, high of 41. The sunshine is more in the afternoon. We will have morning clouds. 37 for the high on Wednesday. It is dry and cloudy. And then Wednesday night, we see freezing rain transitioning to all rain heading into Thursday morning. I'm meteorologist Dylan Robichaud with your 10 weather impact forecast on 97.1 The Fan.
Matty Ice is currently bathing himself in creamy jalapeno dip. And I've officially run out of ways to tease this show. Rothman and Ice.
Weekdays at noon.
The Fan. The final season of Yellowstone might just be Bo's dad live on YouTube. What's the difference anyway? This is Bishop and Friends.
And hey there, friends, it's your Uncle Bo here, and proud to tell you about my friends at Diamond Cellar. This is a good one. Diamond Cellar's wedding weekend is back. Mark your calendars. It's February 21st and 22nd. Incredible offers you will not want to miss. Join them for a buy one, get one half off wedding bands, 20% off diamond anniversary bands, and special no-interest financing on engagement rings. They've had the guaranteed best price for over 78 years. True's a jeweler you can trust. I've trusted them for years. They will do right by you. Go see them February 21st and 22nd for their wedding weekend at Diamond Cellar at Sawmill Road or Easton Town Center. And fellas, while you're there, maybe gaze the watches. You know, you do some little, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. A little bit of that. That seems like a win for everybody. So enjoy that out there. Diamond Cellar, as good as it gets in Central Ohio and around the country, quite frankly. All right, Ryan Day was on with Joel Klatt on his podcast and was incredibly candid about where we are in college football and some of his beefs with what the reality of his last couple of weeks have been like. Klatt asked him what the biggest problem in college football is. Here is Ryan Day's answer to that.
I'm just saying in general, one of the biggest problems we have in college football right now is enforcement. And again, I'm not talking about tampering. I'm just saying in general.
Yeah, any rule. You're just saying any rule.
Any rule right now. Because the enforcement just isn't there. And I think there's a generation right now of young coaches that are coming up in this profession that are saying, why do I follow the rules? Integrity, sure, we all have integrity. But there needs to start becoming some sort of penalties for breaking the rules. Otherwise, I don't know. We're going to have a generation of young coaches that just see what's going on across college football and continue to do that and have a disregard for any rule.
He elaborated on that in terms of the lack of enforcement. Here is Ryan Day on that.
If you make a rule, but you can't enforce it, then you have no structure.
Yeah, then it's not a rule. It's a suggestion.
Right. So we're putting these Band-Aids and patches and different things on them, and we continue to move on, and that's fine. The product's great. But, I said this a few years ago, I want to look up in a few years and not recognize what's going on. But I think we still have an obligation to do things with integrity and to raise young men to do things the right way in this profession. And so I just think that's of utmost importance. And again, I'm not just talking about one rule. I'm just saying in general. And I think the structure has to be looked at across the board.
We agree. We've talked about it ad nauseum here over the last several years. As this has been one of the major topics of conversation on the program. I got bad news for Coach Day, though. There's no end in sight to this. Forever, the NCAA was this bully that you were fearful of. It all started to change probably about 15 years ago. University of Miami football, North Carolina basketball, Kansas basketball. Right before that, you had the Sandusky stuff at Penn State. You had Tatgate here. Those two things were the last two instances of a athletic department, a football program in those two instances saying, yes, sir, may we have another? We'll take the punishment. We'll self-impose. Because the thinking at that time was self-impose and they'll go easier on you. That was the belief. And then it flipped. And then it became, wait a second, they don't have any subpoena power? You want to investigate us? Go ahead. Go ahead. Bill Self's not talking on the record. Roy Williams is not talking on the record. Prove it. How are you going to prove it? Our folks aren't going to cooperate. We're not going to do it. And at that point, and that's over a decade ago, at that point, the emperor had no clothes. And so now, fast forward to 2025, and so the NCAA does not exist. There isn't even an enforcement arm anymore. There's not an investigative. There never was an The investigation was always done by media. It wasn't done by them. They weren't out there like the Pinkertons trying to track down wrongdoing. There was none of that ever. Well, now all of a sudden there's not even an enforcement arm. So now you add to that free transfer, NIL, no contracts because they don't want to call them they don't want to call them employees. So there is no enforcement of it. There's a reason Nick Saban, Urban Meyer 5 years ago were talking about, man, this NFL model is pretty good. Do some contracts. That'll keep the tampering out of it. That'll make things enforceable. But what's happened? Nothing. No one's done anything to it. They keep looking at Congress. You remember, Reese, was it last summer or the summer before when we would keep track? We'd have Amanda Kristovich on. We're like, all right, what's happening with this congressional hearing? And nothing. It was all just grandstanding.
Yeah, I think
there wasn't anything.
Supposed to be a general sports business reporter covering college, and then just became covering congressional hearings or covering court cases. Every other week there was something new. And they lose. And they get shut down. Or a player would lawyer up and have whatever that player's party wanted would be done. And they would laugh at the NCAA, or they'd give a scathing rebuke of the NCAA and its the amateurization model that they were going off of. And despite all of that losing, the NCAA just kept continuing to try to push this. And
remember the Supreme Court?
Where everyone's agreeing with Justice Brett Kavanaugh on the same day, must tell you about the person that we are all looking at and saying, this sucks.
Buried him. So we all know that you need to have enforceable rules. We all know you need to have guardrails. We all know that you have to play under the same agreement. The only way that I can see that happening is the most powerful entities in this sport. Tony Petitti, the commissioner of the Big Ten, who represents the Big Ten presidents and universities. Greg Sankey, the boss of the Southeastern Conference, who represents the Southeastern Conference and those presidents and those universities, getting together and saying, we're all going to play under this rule. This is going to be our rule. Forget the NCAA. They're nothing. They're done. They have no governing power over football anyway. They're out. Those entities need to come together if they want what Ryan Day wants, and I know every coach in the sport wants this. They want enforceable rules. Coaches don't want to take NIL away from kids. That's not what they want. They just want a structure of rules to play by. And right now there is none. So all you have, that's the fix. That's the fix. It's those two conferences saying, we're making agreement that we're going to play under these set of rules. And if you want to compete for the championship that we're competing for, these are the rules that you have to abide by. Until that happens, just more of this.
It's it's crazy, and it's always been crazy that in college basketball, now in college football, you have your championship structures that are outside of the NCAA where you play your rules for the whole year. And I don't know if that would change anything or not, but the NCAA can say what they want, and the CFP can still put a team in to play for the national title, so there's really no punishment there. It's and same with the NCAA tournament. I just don't know how
they can do that. They put that tournament on. The NCAA puts the NCAA tournament on, so they own that. They have jurisdiction over that.
They still handed a championship to the Kansas City Jayhawks.
Because they have no subpoena power.
I wonder...
And Bill Self said, prove it.
I wonder what the two...
Bill Self, their guys are on FBI wiretaps.
Yeah.
It's still not enough.
It'd have to take all... The two power conferences starting this with all the schools involved signing an agreement says, here are the rules. If we break them or if they are broken, then fines come from each school in regards to this. The pocketbook feels like the first and best place to hit them. But they'd all have to agree on these rules, and they'd all have to agree in a contract that you could take in front of a judge and actually have actionable.
You have to, in order to, and I agree with you, but in order to do what we're saying, you're going to have to hire folks to write the rules. I remember even when we were talking about a break away from the NCAA and doing the super conferences and all of that, the biggest pushback was who's going to write the rules. So you're going to have to hire people to write the rules. Then you're going to have to hire people to enforce the rules. And one thing we know about major college athletics, they do not like paying for things that they don't get back in spades. So those two things have to be done. To your point on the CFP, Bake, the point you were making about NCAA CFP, remember that's like with the Michigan stuff. Like all these folks around here thinking Michigan's going to get bombed. The CFP has said we're not taking anything away. They're not losing their title. They could lose some scholarships. They could get a monster fine. They're not losing their title. That'll stay the same. It's something that I cannot imagine how many coaches think the way Ryan thinks on this. I know they do. We've heard about this for years. They want to know what rules they're playing under. Right now, there are none. And the only guys who can fix it are the most powerful people in the sport. And that is the Southeastern Conference, the Big Ten, and their television partners. Tuesdays with Taberi in 2 minutes. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
At NJM Insurance, we like to think of ourselves as a symphony. We start with a foundation of doing the right thing. Then we layer in dedicated reps whose priority is you. Add in excellent discount programs. And last, but certainly not least, we put our policyholders first. And the reason we don't use jingles or mascots is because it's just not us. No jingles or mascots, just great insurance. NJM. Insurance underwritten by NJM Insurance Company and its subsidiaries.
Hey guys, Anthony Rothman here. Let's talk about getting you back to your best. If you lack energy, muscle mass, feel moody, or have low libido, it could be low testosterone. You need to know your T level, so get tested. Testosterone therapy, or TRT, may be your answer, and you'll find true experts at Low T Center. And for current patients, Low T Center offers a $150 credit when you refer a new patient. Go to lowtcenter.com to book the appointment. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Your furnace could be costing you in repairs and high utility bills. Replace it with Logan AC and Heat Services. Enjoy 0% APR financing for 72 months. It's hard to stop a train. Schedule now. Logan Services.
Bobby Carpenter here for Germain Toyota. Swing by Germain Toyota and ask for Marcello and discover unbeatable deals and a wide selection of new and certified pre-owned Toyota vehicles. Visit them at germaintoyota.net. Germain Toyota on the corner of I-70 and Bryce Road.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to my computer career.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu.
It worked for me, and I know it can work for you.
This is one student's experience. Individual results vary. It's almost Football Friday. All play and no work.
Sponsored by Tansky Sawmill Toyota.
Your home for football, The Fan. Bishop and Friends present Tuesdays with Taberi.
Sponsored by Sears Heating and Cooling. Family owned since 1950.
Just a quiet little offseason, buddy.
Yeah.
You know?
There's nothing quiet anymore. Every time you turn around, loud. It's just like this is happening and that's happening and I'm getting hit in the head. And it's just like, what in the world?
Why are you getting hit in the head?
Well, I mean, you got Myles Garrett once out in Cleveland. Sure. You got Cuccios leaving here. You got 3 coaches off Ohio State. What's going to happen next?
I don't know. Bobby Varzija. What do you make of the Cuccio news?
You know what? And I hate to say it,
and I know some of the Crew fans will get mad at me, but this was expected. I mean, as good as we think the MLS is, it's still the farm system for the world. I mean, you got to feel good for Cucho that he's going to one of the top 5 leagues in the world. Yeah. But and I get beat up. I said until what I have said in the past is that we need a premier team in New York, and people said you're an idiot. That's the dumbest idea. I said, you know what? That way, you would have the best. Every sport that's the best is in America, right? You can't say that about soccer.
No.
But if we had a premier team in New York, and you had the best players in the world on that team in New York, whatever, and they could play in Europe or wherever they wanted. You know what I mean?
So you're saying a Premier League team. You're saying you want an English Premier League team in New York.
Yeah.
Not a great MLS team in New York.
No.
You want so that's similar to like the European counter to that is an NFL team in London.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, why wouldn't that work? If the NBA is we've heard Major League Baseball maybe going to Japan. We've heard the NBA going to Europe. With the planes and whatever, the world is a small place, Bo.
It is. In fact, I just saw that the Concorde's coming back. Did you see this?
Yeah, I saw that.
New York to London, 3.5 hours, baby.
I saw that. Yeah,
we're ready to go.
So what are the Browns going to do? You're up in Cleveland. They're going to get. You know what? They have created such a mess up there.
Mm-hmm.
3-14.
Sure.
They had a defense that was of championship caliber, but the offense with the experiment didn't work. And I know you and I have debated they should have kept Baker. But I don't know. Maybe Baker's not the guy he is. If they, we've debated whatever. But Deshaun Watson is clearly that's never going. That ship has sailed, and they need a franchise quarterback. Now I'll tell you what I floated out.
Okay, tell me.
Will Howard to Cleveland. Why not? Now I don't know that he's your franchise quarterback, but he could be.
I don't know that he's not. I don't think I don't hate that. And what I think you ought to do, whether you are. If you are a team in the National Football League, Dami, and you don't have a franchise quarterback, you should not rest until you do.
Yes.
So what I mean by that is if I were the Browns, I would draft a quarterback at 2, and I would draft another one in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
And I would just keep doing that until you land the guy. Because if you don't have one, you don't really have anything.
Right.
Nothing of consequence.
And you know what? As much as I like Myles Garrett, and as much fun as he is to watch, you're not going to win a Super Bowl with a defensive end. You got to have a franchise quarterback, and they had one in Baker. We can agree to disagree, but then they go and get Deshaun, and this has been a tragedy. It has been
has not worked.
It's just awful, and so you got to do something. The sad part is. They had a championship caliber defense, and they wasted it. They had a defense
that exists, buddy. I really don't. I don't even know. I mean, because you could say the same thing about Pittsburgh, that they have a championship caliber defense the last decade. They don't have a single playoff win.
Yeah, I know.
If you don't have Roethlisberger,
I know.
What are you?
Well,
that's where this is. I mean, you look at the top 15 offensive teams in the league, the top 13. They're all first-round picks, and one is Jalen. The only one who isn't is Jalen Hurts, and he's a second-round pick.
Right.
Like, you got to have a dude at that position. I wanted to get your take on this, and I'm curious where your grandbabies are with this, especially young Gio is the older of the two. Because with this Myles trade request, and we led the show with this, like kids and sports and fandom. Right. And what I notice is my kids are most passionate about college athletics. And my theory on it is, well, it's what I'm most passionate about too. So that's probably part of it. But I think the other part of it is it is easy. You're programmed to root for laundry. We're rooting for scarlet jerseys and silver hats. And yes, heroes come in, but we're prepared for them to come and go.
Right.
So even in a more transient nature of the sport where guys are here for a year or two and then they move on or transfer out or whatever, you're predisposed to that. In pro sports, has now, outside of the quarterback position in the NFL, has become incredibly transient.
Yeah.
Luka Doncic got traded at 25, bud.
Yeah.
That never happened.
And I think you're onto something. But you know what, Bo? That's gone. I grew up a huge Cincinnati Reds fan, the big red machine. And I was crushed as a kid when they finally broke the team up. Yeah. When Pete Rose left the Reds, I was sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff's gone, but I think it's even more today. You know, I don't really have a dog in the fight now because once I got here, you know, I root for the Browns and the Bengals. I root for the Reds and the Guardians. But I think you're onto something. I think it's easier to root when you're in Columbus, Ohio, for Ohio State. And I know Gio's a huge Buckeye fan. His daddy's a big Browns fan, and you're a product of who your parents usually root for. Although my dad was a Bengals fan, and I rooted for the Bengals growing up. And you know, I kind of now like the Browns maybe a little better, but I think you're on to that because it's a bit what we forget. And you know, being in this business, you know, it's really driven it home to me. It's a business. It's the entertainment business, but that's what it is. You're going after the entertainment dollar, and you know the NFL a lot of times stands not for long. You're not with this team for long.
No. So Super Bowl week used to be a monster week on wall-to-wall sports.
Not anymore.
I know, but I loved it. We would go. First time I did it at your house, I was like, wait a second, what is going on? And like our SAT truck is parked outside your house.
Yeah, remember that?
We'd go in there and you'd cook, and we would put on a live show from your kitchen for crying out loud.
Yeah. My favorite year, we had a truck there, and on the back porch I had Gerard Gallant, who was the head coach of the Blue Jackets.
That's right.
In my living room. And we went from room to room. In my living room, we had John Hicks, who was the Outland Lombardi and the finished second in the Heisman. He was in that room. In my dining room, I had a guy named Beanie Wells, who was just committed to Ohio State and was going to come play for the Buckeyes. And we had one more. I'm trying to remember. It was crazy. We had
might have been Buster Douglas. I mean, it was
insane. You remember that kind of stuff? It was a lot of my God bless my wife. She let me do that stuff.
That was great. What is your you are a great culinary master. If you were putting together a Super Bowl spread game plan,
yes,
are you a grazer where you have a bunch of apps and you kind of pick and choose, or are you a main? How would you set up your perfect Super Bowl Sunday?
You gotta have you gotta have your wings. So you smoke your chicken wings. I smoke them. Mm-hmm. You gotta have your salami. You know, like I like the charcuterie, whatever they call that thing.
I like that. Yeah.
But I want the capicola. I want the prosciutto. I want the salami. I want all that. I'm not a cheese guy. I want the peppers. I'm not an olive guy either. But I want the and some crackers and you know, chili's also good for the Super Bowl.
I like the substance part of the chili, right?
Yeah.
Because you need to have a base layer.
Yeah. But wings, you got to have wings. Do you think Mahomes and those guys get the 3? I think they do.
I'm not betting against him.
I think that guy, and that goes back as we go full circle to what we're talking about, a franchise quarterback.
Yeah. Buddy, he's 17-0 since 2023 in one-score games.
Name me one team.
Come on.
Name me one team that won any kind of championships with a subpar quarterback, with a guy that was meh.
You got to go back to like Dilfer.
I mean, really. I mean, that's
like 2000, 2-ish. I mean, somewhere in there, 2000 maybe, when the Ravens won with that incredible I don't think the way the league's played now, you can't.
No, I mean, it's just, and that's why I think it's funny when the Browns say we're not trading Garrett and whatever. I don't want to see the guy go, but it may be. I think it's their life support that they're getting thrown. If they can get a bunch of draft picks because they gave away a king's ransom to bring in Watson, and this could be your safety line. So I don't think and you know what? And you're doing something nice for Myles because that guy, they're not going. He's 29, 30 years old. His clock is ticking, and he wants to win a Super Bowl. And so why not help him out and help yourself out?
Yeah, I think you're onto something there, and I had talked about that a little bit earlier. Like, there's a life raft here with the number 2 pick in the draft, which you kind of stumbled into, and now all of a sudden there could be some asset accumulation where you could get an incredible influx of talent on a roster that needs it. Yeah. So we'll see how it all plays out. Yeah. What do you got coming up this week?
Just, busy as always. We're waiting to hear from Coach Day to see what's going to happen with those 3. And I want to say
tomorrow, right?
Yeah, but they're not.
But it's not what it used to be. Yeah.
He's already done. I want to say one thing. Some people were saying, "Why would Chip Kelly leave?" And I'm like, I beg your pardon. Yeah. First of all, he tripled his salary, right? $6 million. Yeah. Second of all, in today's college game, the professionalism of it. Mm-hmm. Not only are you coaching these kids, you're now babysitting them 365 days a year. They don't go home. Remember in the summers they used to go home, and they're here year round. You got the transfer portal, you got NIL, you got all that stuff, and guess what? In the NFL, Chip Kelly's going to coach football, and they have a union, and the players get so much time off, meaning you're not coaching them.
No, he's going to have months off.
Yeah,
at a time.
I mean,
no, he's going to get his life back.
Yeah.
Don't have one now.
And it's not going to get any better until they get, as you said, there's no rules in college football. And, it's the Wild West. That's why Ryan Day keeps saying we need to get rules. We need to get this figured.
Yeah.
And no one wants them more. It's not, first of all, this NIL stuff's not sustainable. They got to figure it out. They got to figure, every year you're going to do the same thing over. It's just going to, the burnout factor is going to be through the roof.
There's going to be more and more of what happened with Chip Kelly and Justin Fry. If you are a coach at a major university and you have the opportunity to go to the NFL, you're going to sprint.
Absolutely.
All right. Good talking to you.
See you, brother.
As always.
See you,
Best
buddy.
to the princess and all the littles and all the children.
Thank you, Bo. And maybe one day we can go somewhere, just you and I, like we did back in the day.
Say when.
Like when we walked around New Orleans and visited with the voodoo people and that kind of thing. Yeah. I'd like to do something where you and I just walk around.
Yeah. Little tomfoolery.
And we just walk around and like when we were in Dodge City there in Texas.
Fort Worth.
Doing whatever that was.
Get little hijinks.
Yeah, you got me on the Brahma Bull and all that business. Or the steer or whatever it was. I don't know.
Say when. I'm in.
All
Good
right.
talking to you, buddy.
Goodbye.
All right. We'll do a little thing or not a thing up next. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Start at Indeed.com/credit.
The Ohio State Coaches Daily Show is brought to you locally on The Fan by Credit Union of Ohio.
This is a Daily Show with Coach Jake Diebler, brought to you by Encova Insurance. We saw Devin Royal get off to a fast start in the game at Illinois. His three-point shooting is certainly something that seems to have been an advancement of his basketball game. Is that something he's worked on, Jake?
Yeah, he's worked hard. We spent some time in the gym. He's been working on his own, but also working with our staff. And we knew going into the Illinois game that he was going to get some opportunities. And I told him for 2 days, let's get some extra reps in. Let's be aggressive, shoot it with confidence, and he did.
Okay, we'll have another comment in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Archie Griffin, two-time Heisman Trophy winner. The right coverage can be a game changer, both on and off the field. That's why Encova Insurance and their local independent agents are prepared for what's next and protect what matters most to you. Whether that's your home, car, business, or family, Encova's got your back with a policy that fits you perfectly. With local independent agents in your neighborhood and innovative insurance products that can be tailored to fit your unique needs, Encova's playbook is an easy win for your peace of mind. You can trust their team of agents to develop a strategy that's just right for you. And it's not just X's and O's. Your expert agent will guide you and provide insurance solutions so you can confidently manage your risk and count on a financially secure future. For auto, home, and business insurance, you want Encova on your team. Visit Encova.com today to find an agent near you. Encova is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Go Bucks!
At Ohio State, we are the never afraid to innovate teams, the agile, get it done teams, the Achieve More Together teams and the Improve People's Lives teams. Together, we are the Ohio State University.
Learn more about Ohio State at osu.edu/impact.
This is the Ohio State Sports Network, presented by the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, the team physicians for Ohio State athletics.
And asking you about three-point shooting, is that something that guys can kind of work on individually on their own, or is it combined with work with the coaches on skill instruction?
It's both. It's both. We're limited with the amount of time we get, due to NCAA hours restrictions. But when you got guys who are motivated to be pros, you got to go above and beyond, and that includes specifically working on your own.
Does that mean taking advantage of that line that's out there?
Yeah. Well, I think it's taking advantage of the 24/7 access you can have to the gym here at Ohio State, the shooting machines, the gun, that we have, that guys can work on their own, the manager staff we have that are available. That's really what it's about, is that time. That there's no replacement for just good old-fashioned hard work.
This is the Ohio State Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, basketball fans. Credit Union of Ohio wants to help you score more by making life more affordable. It's time to play with a team that helps you win every day. Credit Union of Ohio's loan rates have dropped to provide affordable financing for the things you want and need. It's time to reevaluate your current loans and consider refinancing with a team that cares about you. Check out current specials and get started scoring more money at cuofohio.org. That's cuofohio.org. NCUA insured, equal housing lender.
Everybody knows that Roosters is a fun, casual joint. With their award-winning waitstaff, great food, fun, and laughter. It's a quick stop on the way home to sit back and unwind or grab a carryout. Roosters is where you, your family, and friends can order pizza, sandwiches, salads, and more. And the home of award-winning wings that are fresh, never frozen. It's your family's other dinner table. Roosters, a fun, casual joint.
Everyone deserves a fast and reliable connection, one that helps better their everyday through the things they value most: friends and family, education and career. A connection that opens pathways to opportunity and builds roads to a better future. At Spectrum, we're committed to delivering just that every single day. Because with the right connection, anything is possible. That's Life Unlimited. That's Spectrum.
Combat falling interest rates now. Lock in a 5-month certificate from Kemba Financial Credit Union and earn up to 4.35% annual percentage yield compared to the 6-month national average of just 1.75% APY. Visit Kemba.org for details. Hurry! This exceptional rate offer expires February 28, 2025. Average CD rate reported by Bankrate.com. Restrictions apply. $500 minimum deposit required to open and earn stated APY and $250,000 maximum deposit. Advantage status required. Federally insured by NCUA.
Bishop and Friends is sponsored by Diamond Seller, your true jeweler for over 75 years. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Distilled sports discussion served in light beer quantities. You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
All right, time for a little thing or not a thing on a Tuesday. Hit it, fellas.
Thing or not a thing.
Sponsored by Apex Plumbing Pros.
During the latest episode of our Scoop City podcast released on Tuesday, The Athletic's Diana Rossini suggested to co-host Chase Daniel that the Commanders should pursue Browns pass rusher Myles Garrett. Quote, why not the Commanders? Adding Myles Garrett would accelerate their rebuild. We saw what their biggest problem was, right? Defense. This comes off the heels on Monday afternoon. ESPN's Marcus Spears said the possibilities for Garrett would be endless if the 29-year-old played in Dan Quinn's defensive system, adding, quote, because that team has a lot of cap space, they're ripe, and Dan Quinn is the defensive coordinator. Myles Garrett might have 30 sacks if he ends up in Washington. Sports Betting AG was very quick yesterday, mid-morning, early afternoon, to put out some odds for where Myles Garrett ends up next. The Dallas Cowboys have the best odds at 4-1, followed by the Commanders 5-1, Chiefs 6-1, Las Vegas Raiders 7-1. Thing or not a thing?
Well, I don't understand Dallas at all. I don't understand what the give back would be on that. I guess it would be picks. It would have to be picks. They'd have to get. I don't know where Dallas picks in this draft, so maybe that's what they're thinking is a combination of picks and pair him down there. It'd be a homecoming of sort for Myles back in the Lone Star State. I think if you're looking for teams who could acquire him, it would be teams like Washington who have rookie quarterbacks. It would be a team like Minnesota who will have a young quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. It would be a team like Houston who has a rookie quarterback on an entry-level contract. Those are the type of places that would make sense. I think Buffalo would make sense too, in that they feel like maybe they're a player away. So, I mean, those are some of the things to kind of look for if the Browns do decide to change direction and entertain the thoughts of trading him. Right now, we know that that's not in their plans at all. But if they do, I think there'll be plenty of takers. And I think teams with young quarterbacks who they're not yet on their second contract would be the teams that would be ripe for it.
Yeah, I think it's a thing, especially with the Commanders, for a couple reasons. One, obviously, their offense was great this year, but their defense not so much. They can use some help on that side of the ball. And then also, just to think how far that franchise has come so quickly. Just 2 years ago, they gave up Montez Sweat to the Bears for basically nothing. I think it was just like a second-round pick, right? For Montez Sweat, who is somebody that you would think could fill that kind of role. Obviously not as good as Myles Garrett, but fill that kind of role. They got rid of him. Now they're talking about adding someone at that same position. Just crazy how far that franchise has come.
On Twitter yesterday, Rams wide receiver Cooper Kupp announced, quote, "I was informed that the team will be seeking a trade immediately and will be working with me and my family to find the right place to continue competing for championships. I don't agree with the decision and always believed it was going to begin and end in L.A." Adding, quote, "Preparations start now for 2025. Highly motivated, as healthy as ever, and looking forward to playing elite football for years to come. Love you guys, but coming for it all," end quote. Thing or not a thing?
He's 31. 31-year-old player. I mean, so I think not a thing that they would look to trade him. Do you guys know the last time he went over 1,000 yards was 21? That's the last time. It's the last time he played a full season. He's had some decent years the last 2 years. Played in 12 games last year, 2 years ago rather, 59 for 737, 67 for 710 last year. Just not the player that he used to be. Not to say that he couldn't on a team that had a bunch of weapons, that he couldn't fill a role, but to me, not a thing. I think this makes sense for what the Rams are going to have to do this offseason.
I think it's a thing that you have players announcing this stuff on social media. You know, you used to hear it from the team, and now the players have this platform and they can announce that stuff. I know it's been that way for a little while, but interesting. Yeah, Cooper Kupp's thing is he hasn't been able to stay healthy the past couple of years. When he's been healthy, he's been a pretty good receiver and a nice compliment to Puka Nacua, but is he going to be able to stay healthy moving forward? As you mentioned, Bo, 31 years old. He's a guy that I think could be, when healthy, a great number 2 and definitely a really good number 3 on a team, but just got to stay healthy, man.
Hey, who put this baseball in here? Real quick, the Yes Network reported Monday the Yankees signed Carlos Carrasco to a minor league deal. It includes an invitation to spring training. He'll be 38 in March. Cookie was 3-10 with a 5.64 ERA in 21 very surprising starts for the Guardians last season. Thing or not a thing?
I refuse to participate.
Too much baseball this
can never have enough
last couple of weeks.
Pitchers and catchers next week, baby.
I don't need a Carlos Carrasco. Was he 3-10 you have in here?
Yeah, it wasn't great last season, but he was brought in to be a bullpen guy, and because of injuries.
That's going to change everything.
It's a cool thing for Cookie that he gets to hang on and go to New York, but it's not a thing because of the stats that you mentioned there, Eric. I just don't see him really playing much for the Yankees this year.
I mean, if he makes their roster.
Yeah, right. All right, final hour of the program up next. Roger Goodell on the state of the most popular professional sports league in North America and the most valuable one in the world. What changes could we see in the National Football League? How will they continue to be on the cutting edge? And how is it possible for this thing to just keep getting more popular and more popular and more popular? It's coming up next as we kick off Super Bowl week. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
If you don't like listening to Morning Juice, Bobby Carpenter's man nipples will punch you in the face. For real.
You want to fight, do you? Weekdays from 6 to 9.
The Fan.
Vivid Seats is your ultimate destination for basketball and hockey this season. With a game-changing rewards program and an unbeatable selection of tickets, they make it easy for every fan to watch their favorite teams and players in action. Catch every one-timer and buzzer-beating 3 live and in person from your favorite seat. Plus, every ticket is backed by a 100% buyer guarantee, giving you peace of mind with every purchase. Don't miss out. Visit vividseats.com or download the app today. Vivid Seats, the official ticketing partner of ESPN.
Hey, nice job, Pete. I like those clean lines. Fellas, do we have anyone that can get to Greenport today?
At Corey's Landscaping, the staffing plan is in the weeds.
Anthony, we need that leaf blower over here. 3 more new customer requests just came in. Who wants to work some overtime?
He needs to dig up quality landscapers and fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Say yes to Diamond Seller's Wedding Weekend on February 21st and 22nd. Enjoy buy one, get one half off wedding bands, 20% off diamond anniversary bands, and special no-interest financing on engagement rings. Visit us in-store and learn more at diamondseller.com.
They're trained. They're fired up. Let's do it. When you need heat, they can't be beat. They're Ohio State's undefeated heating and cooling team. For plumbing, drain, heating, and cooling, there's only one team. The Waterworks. Better care, better value, better results. Call the Waterworks at 614-232-2222 or visit them online at thewaterworks.com. A proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Hey guys, Anthony Rothman here. Let's talk about getting you back to your best. If you lack energy, muscle mass, feel moody, or have low libido, it could be low testosterone. You need to know your T level, so get tested. Testosterone therapy, or TRT, may be your answer, and you'll find true experts at Low T Center. And for current patients, Low T Center offers a $150 credit when you refer a new patient. Go to lowtcenter.com to book the appointment. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
A system for every home and every budget at Logan AC and Heat Services. Get a free Trane furnace with the purchase of an air conditioner and tax credits up to $2,600. Schedule your free estimate now. Logan Services.
Hey friends, Beamer here, and yes, I have a new update for you. I know you're thinking one of these weeks I'll put up a goose egg, but not yet. Not with Awaken 180. Another 4.8 pounds down last week with Awaken 180. And if you're following along, it's sure fun for me. 42 pounds in just 8 weeks. Let's put weight aside. I've stopped snoring thanks to Awaken 180. And what does that mean? Happy wife, happy life. Plus, bonus, I wake up feeling great because I'm actually sleeping through the night. Energy levels high, less pain in my knees, and now I'm able to play at the little gym with Willie and throw him up and down and watch him be a crazy man. I know most of these messages talk about how much weight I'm losing, but it's more about what losing weight is making me win in every other area of my life. For the big game this weekend, I'm pumped. Wings, meatballs, adult beverages, everything's still on the table while losing weight with Awaken 180. Let them show you how easy it is and give Awaken 180 a call. 844-346-1800. That's 844-346-1800 or online at awaken180weightloss.com.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Broadcasting from the Lindsay Honda Studios.
Honda makes the cars. Lindsay makes the difference. Visit lindsayhonda.com.
WBNS-FM, HD1 Columbus. The Fan. Sports Center.
Good morning. I'm Eric Reeser. The Blue Jackets have 3 more games until the NHL breaks for 2 weeks for the Four Nations face-off. Columbus is at Buffalo tonight at 7. You can hear that one on the Fan with pregame coverage at 6:30. Elvis Merzlikins looks to get the nod in net. CBJ are currently tied with the Red Wings with 59 points in the race for the first wildcard spot in the East. Jackets are back on home ice Thursday against Utah. On Monday, the team put forward Kirill Marchenko on injured reserve following surgery to repair a broken jaw suffered Sunday in their loss at Dallas. There's There's no official timetable on his return. In college hoops, the 8th-ranked Ohio State women's squad is at top-ranked UCLA tonight at 9:30. Maddie Andrews will have the call on ESPN Columbus with pregame at 9:15. Buckeyes are at number 7 USC Sunday night at 9 o'clock. This update sponsored by BMI Federal Credit Union. Enjoy rates as low as 9.90% APR with a Visa Platinum credit card. Apply at bmifcu.org/Visa.
Our top men are working on everything except this show. This is Bishop and Friends.
All right, final hour here on a Tuesday. Roger Goodell had his State of the Union appearance yesterday down in New Orleans at the Super Bowl. Where are you guys 1 to 10 on excitement? Are you more excited? Are either you going to a Super Bowl party on Sunday?
No.
Beck?
So I'm not sure what we're doing yet, but one of my best friends from Kansas City is actually coming in Thursday night. So we are all going to be together doing something for the Super Bowl.
All right, a little bit of a win there. Reese, are we? Are you
2 out of 10? I'd say I'm more excited for the halftime show. Let's power rank it here real quick. I'll go Kendrick Lamar halftime, then the food. We'll probably make something fun for dinner, then the actual game.
Okay. Yeah, we're not either. We're hanging in. The Sunday night of it is tough when you have kids, right? To go and do all of that. And eventually they'll get to a point, and we're going to get to this because Goodell was asked about the 18-game season, which would get them there to the point where you would lead right into President's Day. And I think that's kind of the sweet spot of eventually where they want to go. But, yeah, I think that I'm one of the few, I think, who I love the game itself. I love the pomp and circumstance before it. I miss the days when they would introduce the players on the team. The Patriots ruined that. I was actually at the Super Bowl where they ruined that, which was in 2001 when in New Orleans, ironically enough, when they played the Rams and were huge underdogs. And I want to say the Rams offense was introduced in the stadium and on television, and the Patriots were introduced as a team. And now everybody's introduced as a team. But in a bygone era, they would introduce the teams, either the team's offense or the defense. And I used to like that. I like the pomp and circumstance. I like the national anthem. I like God Bless America. I like the coin toss. I like the initial kick. I like the halftime show. I like all of that stuff. I like the commercials. Commercials are fun. That wins for me. So you understand why it has become the global phenomenon that it's become over the last 60 years, and what it means. And I think it'll be even a bigger boom when it goes to the Monday off the next day with President's Day. I think that, and eventually they'll get there, whether they get to 18 games or whether they add another bye week or whatever they decide to do. I think inevitably they'll get there and it'll be even bigger. This is there was the longest time that and just think of this from like franchise evaluations, where the most valuable sports entity on the planet was Real Madrid. Like consistently, it was Real Madrid, it was Manchester United. It's now NFL teams. And NFL teams make up a great many of the top 10 on that list. This is a business that prints money. It is the one thing college football has maintained or incrementally grown. But really what college football has done is while all of the other sports in our country have fallen off from a popularity standpoint, college football has grown or maintained. Well, the NFL is a rocket ship. It just keeps going up and up and up. Eventually, it has to plateau, you would think, but we've seen no signs of it. It is growing more and more popular by the year, it seems. Eventually, there will be expansion. I'm certain of it, into England. Mike said something months ago that I thought, does it make sense at one point for the NFL to play for 9 months out of the year and play 28 games and spread it out the way they do with European soccer? Who the hell knows? But I do know this. The folks who own those teams, they like money, and they like to be able to make more of it. So this sport's going nowhere. Super Bowl is going to be incredible. Super Bowl Sunday is going to be a monster from a rating standpoint. We know that. The one thing that is often talked about is the idea of an 18-game season, and that would get them to President's Day if they did that. Roger Goodell was asked directly about an 18-game season at his State of the Union address yesterday down in New Orleans. Here's what he had to say.
Concussions are at a historically low level this year. We think that's a large result of the efforts that are being made, one, to improve equipment, but also the changes we make in the rules of the game, and also the way we train our players. So I think all of those are factors in how do we look at the offseason and how do we look at the players and try to continue to make advancements in this case. And if we do, 18-2 might be a possibility, because we know that fans, I think, love football. They want more football, but we have to be incredibly sensitive and smart about the balance and how we deal with that. And I think that's something that I think we're all interested in focusing on, but it hasn't begun yet.
He said 18-2, so 18 regular season games and 2 preseason games. The one pushback I would have to the 2 preseason games, and it has nothing to do with thinking that preseason is good football. It's not. But the preseason right now is the only time that the bottom of the roster guys get to play. You draft a quarterback late, you draft a running back late, they do not get priority in camp. It is very difficult for them to bust through and be given an opportunity. And if you start eliminating those games even more so, then you're going to lose that opportunity. The 18-game regular season, I'm a round number guy. 17 is just an awkward spot. I wish they would go back to 16 and do 2 bye weeks. I think that would be a chance, but they're never putting that genie back in the bottle because the money's nice. So their television partners would be salivating over an 18th game being added to this. I do think if you add 18 games, you do need to add a second bye. I think you have to do that because these teams are beaten and bloodied. I wouldn't even mind. They would never do it, but I wouldn't even mind a full bye week. Maybe they could work with college football and the NFL just do a full bye week before they start the playoffs. Like finish the regular season, week 18, everybody's off. And maybe they give college football that weekend and they can play football on that weekend and play semifinals. Who knows? Just spitballing here, throwing things against the wall. But you do need more rest for these players, and you need chance to get healthy because I think what we all want is the football to stay at a high level and for us to see the guys we want to see at the end. And these teams are just get bludgeoned already with 17. 18 would only add to it. They'll get there. This is all going to be part of a negotiation. There's something that the Players Association will want in return, and the NFL will get there. So whether that's a bigger practice squad, whether that's bigger rosters, whether that's more pay for practice squad players, there will be a give and take on this in the next CBA, but they're getting to 18 games. That's happening. Lock it up.
Yeah, when when the commissioner throws it out there on Pat McAfee's show, like you can almost just start to schedule this now. And I hope with scheduling, they seriously sit down with college football and they figure out something that works not only for both leagues, but for the players, because you've got so many more games onto college football that you're never going to know. You're not going to know for another 5-6 years how much those extra games in the college football playoff have affected some of those top line players, because that's just extra on the body. It's like that's what amazes me about Derrick Henry, how he's still able to do this because of how much he played in college and how much his body's been thrown, when he's in the NFL. So if you've got to get those two working together, and then I think to your point, you have to have uniform bye weeks with teams in the league so that you don't get a cobbled together roster of whoever we could find by the time you get into the playoffs, which also I think means roster expansion.
Other things he addressed. Officiating. First, the notion that the officials favor the Chiefs. Go ahead.
I think a lot of those theories are things that happen in social media and they get a new life, but it's out there. Nobody wants it to be their theory. I understand that. I think it reflects a lot of the fans' passion. And I think it also is a reminder for us how important officiating is. And I think the men and women that officiate in the NFL are outstanding. They have the highest possible standards. That's ridiculous theory for anyone who might take it seriously. But at the end of the day, it's something we always have to continue to work on. How do we make our officiating better?
Star power is magnetic. Pick a sport. You're going to get calls when you're great. Brady got calls. Manning got calls. In the NBA, LeBron got calls. I mean, the only superstar, duperstar that I can remember who didn't get calls was probably Shaquille O'Neal. Everybody else gets calls. Greg Maddux got calls. This is sport. Great players get benefit of the doubt. The idea that the refs are conspiring against whoever the Chiefs are playing is just utter nonsense.
I think there's multiple things in this. One, people are already against the Chiefs because they're winning, so you see it. Your view of the game is tilted a little bit towards what you want to see and want to happen. Also, you're seeing the Chiefs more because they're on more primetime games, so you get to see their games a little more and see those mistakes more. And, Bo, I've always said this. I think officiating in games and even over the course of a season, I think it all evens out, right? You get some calls, you don't get some calls. I don't think one team is ever getting favored in the calls department over a long stretch of time.
No. This part I am interested in. He talked about the future of ball spotting technology. People, a lot of the beef with what happened with Kansas City and Buffalo was that the ball spotting was beneficial to Kansas City, not Buffalo. Goodell was asked about that. Here's what he had to say.
We tested in the preseason this past year on being able to use that technology. It is complicated. Obviously, you have a lot of humanity that interferes potentially with some of that, at least from a camera angle standpoint. But you also have a shape of the ball that is different, and it's about where the ball is, not where the individual is necessarily. So there are a combination of factors are there, but I do think that technology will exist sometime in the future. We're continuing a lot with our partners is how to advance that as quickly as possible so we can get to that place.
My man just blamed the football.
You need sensors on the two tips of the ball, and then you would need sensors around the, I guess for lack of a better term, the girth of the ball is the middle of it is what you need to do. So you need 4 sensors in it, and I think that probably solves everything he's working on there. The one thing a lot of people say, well, what about the tennis technology? Remembering that the technology isn't in the ball, it's actually in the surface. So that's a much smaller surface to canvas with that versus an NFL football field. So, but I think eventually they'll get there and they'll get it right. Super Bowl is going to be a fun one on Sunday. Coming up next, is spring football still a necessity? Sure. But what about the spring game? We'll get to that coming up next. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
Tweet from a listener. Are you carrying the Buckeye game today? Considering we've never not carried one, yes. The answer is yes. The Fan.
The New Year's celebration is come and gone, but my friends at Germain Honda of Dublin are still offering those great deals. Rich is sticking with rates starting as low as 0% and leases starting from only $249 a month. Test drive the Prologue, the new all-electric SUV from Honda. And how about the very popular CR-V LX all-wheel drive? A 25 lease is only $349 a month for 36 months with $19.99 down. See the dealer for all these amazing details. Germain Honda of Dublin on Sawmill Road, just south of 270.
Get your furnace fixed fast. Call Care Heating and Cooling, 1-800-COOLING.
Common Man and T-Bone here. Bone, did you know that the ESPN Bet Sportsbook at Hollywood Casino Columbus has over 30 TVs, 2 massive video walls? They even have recliners, a full-service bar and restaurant, a betting counter, and over 30 kiosks?
I did know that, but I also know that you can reserve a table right now at Hollywood Casino Columbus at the ESPN Bet Sportsbook and guarantee your spot and get some game day swag while you do it. Just visit hollywoodcolumbus.com/casino/sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
As of 9 a.m. this morning, our EV trucking company is officially in operation.
Andrew's zero-emission trucks are driving the transportation category forward.
We'll make driving safer, easier, and less stressful. Now our technology needs to keep up with demand.
He needs to put pedal to the metal on hiring more software engineers.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Why pay more for prescriptions? Stop overpaying and start saving with SingleCare. It's easy. Find your prescription on singlecare.com, show the coupon at the pharmacy, and start saving. SingleCare works at pharmacies nationwide and is completely free to use, whether you have insurance or not. So the next time you fill a prescription, check SingleCare to make sure you're getting the best price. Take control of your prescription costs. Go to singlecare.com or download the free app today.
I'm Leslie from Pella Columbus.
And I'm Wilson from that other window place.
When you bring Pella Columbus to your home, you get local, personal attention from an award-winning window and door crew.
Yep. Our crew is full of award winners, too.
Well, that's great, Wilson.
Yeah. Jerry alone has won the hot dog eating competition 2 years straight at the company picnic.
Well, that's not really the type of award I was talking about.
Still counts as an award.
Get the window that Columbus homeowners rate the leading and most trusted at PellaColumbus.com.
All your favorite and least favorite fan shows are available wherever you get your podcasts. Just type in 971 The Fan to the search bar and hit that subscribe button. It's free.
We're the land of the free and the home of the sunburnt, freckled fat guy.
Do it now.
We plant trees because people need trees, and when planted in the right place, they have great impact. Trees help slow climate change, filter our air and water, foster biodiversity, and strengthen our communities. They create the kind of transformational change the world needs now. April is a month filled with opportunities to care for and plant trees. For planting resources, contact an Ohio ISA certified arborist who can help you learn how to take the best care of your trees. Visit trees4ohio.org. That's trees4ohio.org.
Black history is American history. In this Black History Month, the Ohio Education Association is celebrating the many Black Ohioans who have shaped our past and who are paving the way for a brighter future for all of us. I'm OEA President Scott DeMar, and as a high school social studies teacher, I've seen how important it is for our students to receive a full and honest education so they can become better critical thinkers. Join the Ohio Education Association in standing up for our students' freedom to learn.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Looking at some sunshine this afternoon, high around 41. Tonight, cold, low 27. Cloudy on your Wednesday with a high of 37. And then as we head into Wednesday night, we'll be looking at some freezing rain that will transition to all rain as we get past midnight. I'm meteorologist Dylan Robichaud with your 10 weather impact forecast on 97.1 The Fan.
Oh, hey, the best football team in the country's on the best radio station in the country. Congratulations, Buckeyes. Here's to 100 more years together. Your home of the Buckeyes, The Fan. We'll read your emails on the air, but we won't tell you where to send them. Hey, we're not doing all the work for you. This is Bishop and Friends.
And get ready for the big game with Rothman and Ice, live from Radio Row in New Orleans. Catch them Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, noon to 3, right here on The Fan, streaming live on the Fan's YouTube channel. Rothman and Ice, live from Radio Row. It's presented by Low T Center. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare. Matt Rule made some headlines last week that I wanted to get into. But before we get into that, want to again revisit the conversation Ryan Day had with Joel Klatt in terms of the length of the season and how college football teams at the highest level are now preparing for that. Here is Day on Joel Klatt's podcast.
Yeah, it started in the offseason and looking at playing possibly 16 or 17 games. And when you look at it from that point of view, not only that, but knowing that in the end of the season, you could be playing these games back to back to back and not having the whole really month to prepare for a bowl game and then leading into the championship game. And so we knew it was going to be a long road. And just kind of went back, like you said, a little bit on some of those NFL, mentalities where sometimes you can almost reinvent yourself throughout the season, but then peaking at the end of the year and keeping an eye on the snap count of each guy, because at the end of the year, those snaps matter. And so we looked long and hard at that. And I think, as the season went on, I think, Mick Marotti did a great job of this. I thought we were playing fast down the stretch. I thought were fresh.
He did do a great job. They were playing fresh. They were on this. I think some other programs were you start to do a math. I remember we had Ryan on in August when we were out at camp and just said, that's kind of when it started to hit us like, oh, you're going to be playing 16 games. Like they owned that. They owned the idea of playing 16 games. Now, the repercussion for that is you've played 16 games. And so what does your offseason now look like? Well, we're into that now. We know that spring football is going to be moved back. Ryan Day saying that spring football, what is it, March 17th now is kind of the date. It's after spring break. He said on Klatt's podcast that they're going to start it, as opposed to in the old days, they would go for a week, spring break, and then reconvene. Now they're going to push that back to get a little bit of breathing room. I also think you're going to see an incredible pitch count for the guys who played a lot in those 16 games in the spring. Like, you don't need to see Jeremiah Smith do much. I don't need to see Caleb Downs do much. I don't need to see Sonny Styles do much. But you also can't completely forego the importance of spring football because, my goodness, you got a bunch of people that need reps. You need the quarterbacks to get a lot of reps. You need running backs to get a lot of reps. You need tackles to get – there's a lot of guys who need to be defensive ends. You got young guys who need to get a lot of football in between now and next August if you're going to track down and be in the mix for this again next year. So I think the needle that they're going to have to thread is there's going to have to be almost a separate set of rules. Your veteran players who have played a lot of ball – are going to be treated a little bit. The best example I can think of this, it just popped into my head, was Joe Thomas at the end of his time in Cleveland. Joe really didn't need to practice. He really didn't need to do a whole lot of training camp, right? He knew how to get his body right. He was going to be right for by the time the season started. And a lot of veterans do this, especially at non-quarterback where you're not working on timing. But if you're one of these guys in one of the collision positions, you can go easy on them. And I think that's something that they'll have to do. So I think the management of that is going to be fascinating this first off season after playing 16 games is what does the weight program in February look like? How hard do you go there? Then what does spring football look like? We know it's going to be moved back. It's not going to be as quick or as early a start as possible because you're going to have a little bit of a break there. The next thing is, do you want a spring game? Now, this has less to do with the idea of more reps for players. The reason that this came about is Matt Rule, the head coach at Nebraska. So this was Saturday. He said that his program is likely going to cancel the spring game because he worries rival programs will use it to scout and poach Cornhusker players. He said, quote, "The word tampering doesn't exist anymore. It's an absolute free, open, common market. So you go out and you bring in a bunch of new players and showcase them for all other schools to watch. Doesn't make a lot of sense." I don't know if I believe that. And I don't know that holding a spring game or not would, I suppose, I mean, you just think of all the spring game heroes that we've had around here through the years who don't end up doing anything in the fall. It feels like everybody knows where the talent is, right? I don't know that having a spring game or not is something that's going to change that.
No, and it's also telling, well, he's also telling what he's going to be doing after Nebraska's spring game is watching other spring games for potential portal additions because the spring window will open after most schools, if not all schools, have done their spring games. It feels a little tinfoil hat to me, the rules giving that as a reason. It make much more sense, I think, from the standpoint that you gave of trying to limit the amount of hitting that these guys do. But it's already kind of thud, at least the Ohio State version of the spring game. I think it's just the introduction to spring and the, hey, welcome back to football and kind of the community event that it's become here in Columbus, at least. And it feels like it's a huge miss for him to do that in Lincoln with how popular that football program is and how important it is to that community.
I don't know how many hidden gems or diamonds in the rough that Nebraska football has out there that the rest of these colleges haven't seen play already and either recruited or could have recruited on their own. So, yeah, I don't know if that explanation is all on the up and up there.
You know why they're going to have a spring game? Why they'd have one here, why they'd have one in Nebraska? It's good business to have a spring game. First spring game I did up here, it was at the height of like the spring game wars. I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but it was such a big sense of pride for a program about what your attendance could be at a spring game. It's like, oh, Alabama had 92,000. It's a spring game record. Texas A&M had 97,000. It's a spring game record. And Ohio State said, well, what? Hold our beer. Watch what we do. And then 100,000 people showed up for the spring game. And everyone's like, well, Ohio State has a spring game record. And I said, it's not even that. It's more than that. That isn't even the whole story. You see, folks, down there in those days, they weren't charging admission. Anybody could get in free. Meantime, here, whether it's $5, $10, whatever it is, to get in the door, they were doing 100,000 at whatever the price was. $10 a pop, $15 a pop, $5, whatever it is. You got 80,000 people. Again, I went to state school. 80,000 people, $10 a pop. That's $800,000. When more and more, you're trying to find. Ross Bjork talked about this when he was on with us in August. They have to find new money. They have to find ways to monetize things that hadn't been monetized before. I mean, right now you can get a tour of the Horseshoe. You have to pay for it, but you can do that now. You're going to be able to have dinner in the Horseshoe soon, right? So they have to find money. Hit golf ball, fine, all of it. Yeah, country music festivals, whatever. Like, you have to find money now to pay for 36 sports. So they're not giving up an $800,000 windfall on a Saturday for worrying about people poaching their roster. And I don't think they're going to do it in Nebraska either. I'd be shocked if Nebraska doesn't have a spring game. They got Dylan Raiola in year 2. You think they're not going to have a spring game and make a little money?
Bo, I didn't think about that from the Nebraska point of view until you just said that. But yeah, what a better way to raise NIL money and stuff like that than to have these spring games. Yeah, absolutely. So it even makes less sense now that Matt Rule would say this.
Especially if he's not winning football games. You want to do what? I mean, if you win a national championship or if you go to the college football playoff and you turn around and say, yeah, we're going to cancel the spring game, then the fan base might be like, well, he's nuts, but okay, we'll see if this works. For him, it feels like you've got, what, 2-3 seasons?
Buddy, you hit it, Reese. He has got to take full advantage of landing the highest rated recruit maybe in Nebraska, in the short list of Nebraska history. You can't not win with him. You can't not take full advantage of him on your roster. Financially, wins, all of it. He did it. He did the thing that Scott Frost couldn't do. He did the thing that previous administrations couldn't do. He landed him. They got it done. And Nebraska's got a lot of money. They got a powerhouse alumni base, a lot of it in Omaha, Berkshire Hathaway, all of that. There's a lot of money that they can pay on NIL to be ultra competitive. I don't think there's any scenario where Nebraska would lose a bidding war to many. So I think you're right on the tinfoil hat approach to this with Rule. And I think if you're Nebraska, you want to see Dylan Raiola play as much as possible. And you want it as an organization, as a school, you want to take full advantage of that. So I think I'd be shocked, absolutely shocked, if they didn't have a spring game. And I think this was Rule using the spring game, like trying to hold it hostage to bring attention to his bigger issue, which is the free and open market there is in college football.
That's
where I'm at.
Hell of a plan.
Yeah. You're not turning that money away.
You're just not turning those fans down.
No.
You can get away with that at Purdue, maybe.
Not at Nebraska. No. All right, Dalton Wasserman's going to join us coming up next. We'll get an early look coming out of the Shrine Bowl, the Senior Bowl. Who are some of the high risers? Are these quarterbacks worth a shot? What about our guys? How will Will Howard translate to the next level? Dalton Wasserman, college football and draft at PFF, going to join us in 2 minutes. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
Robinhood Gold members can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on annual retirement contributions. With Robinhood Gold, the perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive a 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC.
Some things you wouldn't mind being stuck with, like a huge inheritance. But a phone that has to be plugged in just right so it charges is not one of those things. Switch to Verizon and we'll pay off your old phone up to $800 via prepaid MasterCard for a new one on us. Just trade in any phone from our top brands with select unlimited plans. $829.99 purchase with new smartphone line on select unlimited plans. Minimum $90 per month with auto pay plus taxes and fees for 36 months required. Less $830 trade-in/promo credit applied over 36 months. Trade-in terms apply. Payoff phone requires smartphone purchase and port in with new smartphone line on select plan. Must provide most recent bill showing payoff amount of eligible phone. Additional terms apply.
Get ready to make the big game even bigger at the ESPN Bet Sportsbook at Hollywood Casino Columbus. With 2 massive jumbotrons, over 50 feet of screen, and more than 30 TVs, you won't miss a single play, touchdown, or highlight. Fuel your game with mouth-watering food and bucket specials. Plus, warm up with our pregame cornhole toss for your chance to win big before kickoff. Reserve your table now for the best seat in the house. Visit HollywoodColumbus.com for more details. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966.
Care Heating and Cooling. Honest technicians, honest pricing. Call 1-800-COOLING.
Is foot pain keeping you from living the life you love? Hi, it's Ron with the Good Feet store. Life is too short to be living with pain. When all four arches in your feet are supported, the results can be amazing. Go to goodfeet.com to make your appointment today.
The Fan Guest Hotline is sponsored by Carpenter Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electric, and Bryant, doing whatever it takes to keep your home comfortable. The Fan.
When General Sherman marched through Georgia, he was listening to this show.
Use your skills for good, young warrior.
This is Bishop and Friends.
All right, let's head on to the Bryant Heating Cooling Systems Fan Guest Hotline. Conversation with Dalton Wasserman, college football and draft for all things football at PFF, and he joins us there. Dalton, thank you so much for taking the time. All right, we are 2.5 months, a little more, from the NFL draft in late April. We are through Shrine Bowl week. We are ahead of the Combine. We are through Senior Bowl week. Big picture, what positions are great in this draft, and what are some of the positions that are weak in this draft?
I think the best one for me, I think, is this defensive line group. It's a really good year to need defensive linemen, whether it's on the edge where there's several first-round players, or even on the inside where I think that you're going to see a bunch of guys go in the top 50. If you need defensive line trench help on the defensive side of the ball, it's your draft. This is a fantastic group of running backs, miles better than last year's group. I think there's 5 or 6 backs that would have been RB1 last year. It's a super talented group. You're going to see guys all the way through rounds 4 and 5 that become productive players in the NFL. And then I think the tight end group really showed out well during Senior Bowl week. I was down there. It's a group with a lot of depth. Couple of first-round guys with potential, I think, in Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland, and then several other good options, I think, through the 3rd or 4th round. I think the weaker spots are kind of the ones that the first one everybody's been talking about is the quarterbacks. I'm of the boat that I think Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward are the 2 prime quarterbacks in this draft, and then there's a big drop-off after those 2. I don't really see a 3rd guy emerging as a potential first-round pick. And then if there was another spot, I would say probably linebackers, another weaker one. I think you're going to see a good amount of mid-round players, maybe rounds 2 through 4, where you see some decent guys, but I don't think there's a top-end talent at that spot.
Well, Dalton, you hit on it, and we continue to do the show in the great state of Ohio, and straight 2 hours up north, the Cleveland Browns are sitting there at number 2, and they do not have a quarterback of the future. They need one. It's a life raft picking number 2 overall. What do you make of Shedeur and Cam, and how would they fit in what Kevin Stefanski is going to want to do offensively, which is a return to the wide zone stuff that he did for the beginning of his tenure?
I think either of them are a potential fit because Kevin Stefanski knows how to make a quarterback's life easier, especially with the support in the run game. But personally, with where the Browns roster is at right now, I don't think I would draft a quarterback at that 2nd spot. I think I would even trade down and load up assets for 2026 and future years because it's hard to see how a rookie quarterback can go there and have immediate success regardless. Shedeur is kind of an accurate pocket passer who, likes to throw in rhythm, but behind a bad offensive line, it's going to be tough. And Cam Ward under pressure can be kind of a gunslinger at times. And we've seen, maybe not this year at Miami, but in the past where some risky throws and turnovers can kind of rack up on them. So personally, I think they're both good players. I really like them both, but I would not take a quarterback if I'm the Browns, not because of the talent, but because I think their roster is not set up for one to succeed.
Dalton, let's do the Shedeur part of it first, because it does feel like the conventional wisdom kind of, who knows how this will shake out. But if Tennessee goes Cam and maybe they go Abdul Carter, who knows? But I want to have the Shedeur conversation because one thing that I hear a lot in the last month is that he doesn't have elite traits. Now, I've seen him play a ton, watch a ton of college football. You watch all of it. I see a guy who's pretty dang tough. I see a guy who's historically accurate. The arm talent to me seems more than fine. You correct me where I'm wrong on that. I think at times he tried to make a little bit too much out of nothing, but some of that had to do with probably the operation that they were in. I guess I'm just curious, when people say he doesn't have elite traits, does that add up?
Well, I think when you talk about, elite traits, people are referring to guys like Josh Allen, right, who's 6'5" and monstrous and 230 pounds that can run the ball, or Justin Herbert, who's 6'6" with the rocket arm. I won't tell you he's got an arm like that. I think you mentioned it right. He's got a good arm, but I think Shedeur's best trait is his processing and his ability to read defenses, right? And you mentioned it, playing in a situation where he had to improvise, I think, more than he wanted to, because he played on a team that was incapable of running the football and really was as one-dimensional as any team in the country, right? So it was all on his shoulders to produce anything for them offensively, and I think he still did a great job of it. You mentioned he's accurate. He's generally a good decision maker. You know, we talk about in our PFF stats, turnover-worthy plays. He had one of the lowest turnover-worthy play rates that we've recorded, you know, from a college quarterback over the last 10 years. So he's safe with the football. Are there times when, he takes too many sacks? Sure, but I do think that's a product of that team they had down there in Colorado with no run game and shoddy pass protection. He's the best quarterback in the draft for me. I think it's very close between him and Cam Ward, but I love Shadour's ability to throw in rhythm, throw down the middle of the field, and see defenses and read them as he goes pre and post snap.
All right, let's we talk about the elite traits. Let's stay with the Browns and their perspective. If they can't trade out and they don't love one of the two quarterbacks and they sit there at 2, and let's say Tennessee goes quarterback at 1, who is the elite prospect? Who's the best prospect available regardless of position?
Personally, I know it's unique, and I know a team has to have a plan for him, but I think it's Travis Hunter, Shadour Sanders' teammate at Colorado. We have not seen an athlete at the level of college football that he played at, who played full-time on both sides of the ball, at wide receiver at an elite level and at cornerback in an elite level. There's an argument that he's both the best receiver and corner in this draft, and he's in one body. I mean, if he's not number 1 at both spots, he's in the top 2, I would say. I mean, just an incredible talent. Me personally, he hasn't shown us any reason to think that he couldn't do it at the NFL level. I would give him a shot to place at least 70-80% on both sides of the ball and see where it goes, because he's so driven to do it, and he's had such success with it for his whole life, honestly.
Which one do you think, because I've seen a lot of the mock stuff say like they view him as a receiver, that the NFL would have him a receiver first and then a corner. If there is a lean one way or the other, where should NFL teams be leaning with him, offensively or defensively?
That's the hard one, because I'm so in the boat that I think he could do both. I think he's that special. But I think when you talk about there's different angles to this. When you talk about positional scarcity, right, and you talk about there's more good receivers already in the NFL than corners, so maybe GMs see him as a more valuable asset at corner. Then him and maybe his agent think about, well, receivers make more money than corners, so I would want to play receiver more often. I think as far as his talent goes, I think he could do either full-time. I think you give him a shot to do both, but I'm telling you, he's so good at both. I don't know, for me, talent-wise, that there is a lean. It's really going to depend maybe on what team that he goes to and what he wants to do with his own career.
Yeah, that's that part. What he wants to do is also a big part of it. It's not just what other teams want to do. Dalton Wasserman, college football and covering the draft at PFF, one of the best in the business. All right, let's have a little conversation with some of these Buckeye guys. Won the national championship, obviously. A bunch of guys who were borderline second, third round picks, maybe in late ones, came back. Of those guys who came back, talking about Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau, Emeka Egbuka, Travion Henderson, whose stock do you think improved the most, and who do you really like transitioning to the next level?
So I think two guys, let's say, through the playoff run that improved their stock the most. One is Jack Sawyer. I mean, and look, he's been a great player for him for multiple years. His run defense tape is an absolute clinic. It's one of my favorite things to watch out of anybody. And then what he did in the biggest moments for that team, especially you think about the big play in the Texas game that sealed the game, I think Sawyer's pretty close to locked himself up as probably being taken in the second half of the first round. And honestly, I think Will Howard is another guy. Look, he came into the year as a guy I don't think was a big draft prospect, wasn't a great drop back passer at Kansas State, but the work that Chip Kelly did with him, I have him as the third best quarterback in this draft right now. Now, do I think that comes with maybe a third round-ish selection? Yeah, but I think what Will Howard showed down the stretch this season may have him selected as the third or maybe fourth quarterback selected in this draft. I think the work from the pocket and the way Chip Kelly got him to see the field, he really made a lot of money this season transferring to Ohio State and doing what he did.
Yeah, it's interesting, Ryan Day. I was going there next with you anyway, so I'm glad you got us there. Ryan said, post-game about Will, as long as his feet are right, he's as accurate as anybody that he's had. You mentioned him as a third. We were talking about the Browns. If they do trade back, would he translate well into what Kevin Stefanski does offensively?
I think he would, because he's accurate and he's mobile, right? And I think you get into that bootleg game and those things that Kevin Stefanski wants to do. And I just love the way that Howard ran Chip Kelly's offense the way it was supposed to be designed, right? Within structure, he didn't deviate from it too much. And I think coaches are really going to like that, and they're really going to like his demeanor and his toughness. I don't think he's another one. I don't think he's got elite arm talent. I think there's a little bit of a limited range when you compare him to guys like, say, Allen or Herbert or somebody like that. But he's sturdy, he's tough. He understands that winning is what's most important, and he's willing to adjust to whatever the coaches need him to do. So I think if you're talking about a round 3, or maybe if he slips to round 4 type selection, the Browns are picking at the top of all the rounds, I think it is a reasonable a fit there. And I think Stefanski would really like him just, again, for his demeanor and his toughness.
Yeah, I think you nailed that one. I wanted to ask you about, it's interesting, there's a couple of guys that are kind of all in the mix, and I think go back a year ago, and you would have said, okay, it's going to be Carson Beck number 1. Well, he's at Miami after an injury and going to play another year. And then a lot of people thought it was that Quinn Ewers could be in the mix. And he was a kid who was a perfect prospect. He was here for a semester and then gone. One of the things around college football was, would he have been smarter off putting his services up for bid and going and making a big deal of money, still playing another year of college football? How do you view Quinn? And if you were advising him, what would you have told him to do?
I might have told him when there was rumors about multi-million-dollar transfer offers, I might have stayed in college one more year if I was Quinn Ewers. I think, look, there are moments. Quinn is such a moments guy. There are moments where you're like, wow, this guy's really an NFL quarterback. He can make any throw. He's got vision. And then there's long stretches of games or even the season where you go, it's just inconsistent, right? I think his footwork's inconsistent. His pocket presence is inconsistent. I still think he's going to be one of the first probably 5 or 6 quarterbacks taken in this draft for his talent and the recruiting profile, like you mentioned, and he looks like an NFL quarterback, no question, but I think it's inconsistency. At times it's inaccuracy, and his footwork still needs a lot of work from a coaching staff. So I think with time to develop, he could become a solid player, but I really would have thought about, especially with all that money on the table now with the NIL, I would have thought about transferring and giving it a shot away from Steve Sarkisian and running a different offense to show what he can do.
Dalton, real quick, and really appreciate your time. Quick thought on Travion Henderson and Emeka Buka.
Emeka is as reliable as they get. I think you're talking about of all the receivers, he's got as high a floor as any of them. I think he slots in almost any offense as a reliable wide receiver too. Great hands, great in tight spaces, loves to block. I think he's got all the traits that coaches are going to love. I could easily see him being taken somewhere in the 20s in this draft. And then Travion Henderson, look, you talk about speed. I mean, any team looking for explosive speed out of their backfield, either as a complement to a back they already have, or, I don't know if he's a workhorse back, because we've seen he hasn't gotten that many carries each season at Ohio State, and this year obviously splitting time with Quinshon Judkins, but Henderson's a fun prospect. You talk about a big play home run hitter out of the backfield. That's somebody I think that's going to go probably in the second round that a team is really going to like for that explosive speed, and he showed some ability as a receiver down the stretch too.
This was great, dude. Really appreciate it. Great information. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Appreciate you having me on as always.
All right, that's Dalton Wasserman, college football and the draft at PFF on the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems Fan Guest Hotline. Get you 3 things on a Tuesday up next. Bishop and Friends right here on the Fan.
Eggland's Best, the only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste, plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best, better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
This Buckeye Football Impact Report is brought to you locally by Credit Union of Ohio and by Hyde Park Prime Steakhouse. On the Fan, Ohio's sports destination.
Ohio State football Impact Report.
It's been a whirlwind for Ohio State head coach Ryan Day ever since the Buckeyes won the national championship in Atlanta. He talks about just what they're trying to do with the coaching staff, in particular looking at filling that spot for the defensive coordinator.
There's points in the recruiting cycle where it becomes very pressing to get things done. We have signing day next Wednesday, but it's really not very significant for us. So, we want to be thorough, make sure we're doing, what's right moving forward. But, we want to have as much continuity as we can. And I think I've learned that watching guys like Nick Saban and, different coaches who have had success for extended periods of time, that to make sure that you have continuity, in all 3 phases. So, we want to do that. We feel great about the guys we have on staff, but we also want to make sure, we're looking at other options out there and being thorough in our search.
This report brought to you by Safe Light Auto Glass. This is Paul Keels on the Ohio State Sports Network from Learfield. Hi, this is Paul Keels. This Buckeye season, don't let a broken windshield ruin your game plan. Safelite Auto Glass makes it easy to get your windshield fixed with their mobile glass shops all over Central Ohio. They can come to you anywhere, giving Buckeye fans more time for game time. OH? Man, I love that. Schedule at safelite.com. Safelite Auto Glass is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Safelite Repair, Safelite Replace.
Libman makes a difference. The Libman Mop Crew is a part of our winning team. The Libman Mop Crew makes sure the hardwood is safe and clean for the players every game at the Schottenstein Center. No matter what kind of flooring you have at your home court, Libman has the tools to keep it clean. Our mops, brooms, and brushes are proudly family made in the USA. Visit Libman.com to see our whole lineup and for a store locator. That's Libman.com. Libman, proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
I used to love shooting hoops with my dad, who taught me great lessons beyond the game. He was the one who helped me open my first bank account. He told me, credit unions take care of you like a teammate and often have the best rates. That's why I've been a Credit Union of Ohio member for 40 plus years.
Make life more affordable at Credit Union of Ohio. With great rates on savings and loans, Credit Union of Ohio has been trusted by families for generations. Visit cuofohio.org to join today. That's cuofohio.org. Federally insured by NCAA Equal Housing Lender.
For more than 35 years, Hyde Park Prime Steakhouse has been known by Buckeye Nation as serving the best steaks in the city. Our thick-cut, aged steaks have been a staple in Columbus with 3 locations in Upper Arlington, Dublin, and downtown. Hyde Park is proud to introduce our newly added wine room at the downtown Columbus location, where a new elegance in dining will surround you. And coupled with live entertainment every weekend, Hyde Park will be the perfect setting for any occasion or the perfect night out. Hyde Park is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Go Bucks!
I'm Leslie from Pella Columbus.
And I'm Wilson from that other window place. And aspiring comedian.
That's fun. What's your best joke?
All right, 2 windows were hanging out side by side. The first window says, sure is a hot day. The other one says, a talking window.
That's pretty good, Wilson.
Bet you can't top that one.
Well, at Pella, we don't have the talking windows, but we do have the windows your friends will talk about.
Dang it, that's good.
Get the window that Columbus homeowners rate the leading and most trusted at PellaColumbus.com.
At Metal Supermarkets, we're all about getting you and your crew to quit in time sooner. That's why our service is a cut above. You see, no matter the project, we'll get you to the right metal, shape, and grade. Cut to any size, ready real fast. And yeah, we'll deliver, leaving plenty of time for the important things, like opening an ice-cold can of aluminum. Metal Supermarkets, the convenience store for metal.
Bishop and Friends is sponsored by Diamond Seller, your true jeweler for over 75 years. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Producers, co-hosts, friends, some of those things are true. You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
All right, Reese, what do we have on the poll today?
The Daily Fan poll asks, what has you most sad? Cucho leaving for Spain, Myles Garrett requesting a trade, or Kirill Marchenko's broken jaw. 35% say Cucho leaving for Spain has them more sad than the 34% say Kirill Marchenko's broken jaw. 30% say Myles requesting a trade has them most sad.
I mean, Marchenko, it's a month.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to be fine. Like, I don't have enough point of reference on the Cucho thing. It'd be silly for me to comment on if that was good
Sad
business
to see him go,
not.
though.
I mean, he was great, but I don't know, like, is that good business or was it not? I don't know that.
Well, I'll say it, try the most layperson's terms possible, because that's what I understand with the great game as well. $10 million for 2.5 seasons, and they net a MLS Cup and $16 million. Like,
okay,
that feels pretty good, right?
That seems all right. I don't know. Yeah, and I suppose you have to do right by the player too. Like, if he needs to play in Europe or something, I suppose maybe there's some of that pressure too. Who knows? All right, time for 3 things on a Tuesday. Hit it, fellas.
1, 2, 3 things.
Sponsored by Custom Air. Custom Air. Custom Solutions. Custom Comfort.
All right, number 1 for me. As we're seeing how complicated it can be to name franchises. We saw this with the Utah Hockey Club, which wanted to be Yetis very clearly, and then they leaked out a bunch of what looked like they put very little effort into them logos. There was one Mammoth, one Hockey Club, one Outlaws that kind of all looked the same with just different logo in the middle. Very clearly they were planning on being the Yetis, and they couldn't. It brings me to the Commanders. So this was my fear, that they would land Jaden Daniels, they would have success with Jaden Daniels, and then they would be committed to that name. Yesterday, the owner of the Washington Commanders, Josh Harris, said that we now identify as Commanders. There is no name change in the offering. We are the Commanders going forward. And quite honestly, that sucks because it's a bad name. It is not a great name at all for a franchise. I know they're going to do some tweaks to the uniform, probably to make them look the way that they looked for so much of their history. But this is what happens sometimes. And this happened, like, for example, with the Denver Broncos. They won in the Elway uniform, so they can't ever go back to the original Elway uniforms. Same thing with or the Orange Crush uniforms. Same thing with the Patriots. They can't use Pat the Patriot because they were successful with the Flying Elvis. When you have success with something, then it's stuck. And I think that's what happened in Washington.
321 Hall of Fame voters allowed their ballots to be made public on Tuesday by the Baseball Writers Association of America. All 321 of those voters had Ichiro Suzuki as a Hall of Famer. You're still missing a good chunk of those ballots. The person outside of a congressional subpoena, that person will never reveal their ballot unless you can get all 393 to get that one person obviously on an island. But the idea that he's not a unanimous Hall of Famer
There's so many.
is still a joke.
Babe Ruth wasn't. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? It's only Rivera, right? Isn't he the only one?
Yep.
Mariano.
Somebody look at Cal Ripken and go, I don't know if he did enough.
Didn't play. Didn't
Too
play
selfish for me.
He just couldn't do it. He just wanted to play every game.
Guys, usually this is my last thing, but I'm going to make it my first thing today. Rothman and Ice traveling to New Orleans for the Super Bowl, so you're going to have Timmy Hall and Dave Biddle in for them. And I'm hearing there is a big announcement on the show today at 2:30, so make sure you're listening 2:30 to Rothman and Ice or Timmy and Biddle today.
Oh, baby. There you go. All right, number 2 for me. So last 7th grade basketball game for NBC is tonight in terms of the regular season. He'll go to the playoffs over the weekend, and then it's lose and you go home is kind of the scenario. So it's timing up with they're having a 7th grade dance in like 2 weeks. And my wife is and some of her friends are putting like a pre-party on for them where they're like going to have boys and girls commingling. And she goes, "What advice do you have?" And I said, "I would have dads there because otherwise the boys will wrestle each other." And she goes, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." And I said, "The second thing I would tell you to do is I would take their cell phones. Because if you don't take their cell phones, it's like they're going to see like a comedian or put them in one of those sealed things when you go see a comedian. If you don't do that, all they're going to do is stare at their screens." And she's like, "You don't think they'll talk to each other?" No, I don't. I think it'll be 10 times worse than when we were kids. I think one will stay on this side, the other will stay on this side, and they'll just stare at phones. She's like, so we'll see if it actually comes to pass. But my recommendation is take their phones upon entrance.
So on a gigantic sporting news day yesterday, I took the day off. I was sent on Twitter something from an account called KD's First Burner account. And you might be asking, what the heck's this going to be? It was a graphic of NHL teams based on how lit their Stanley Cup parade would be. And you have, I'm looking at 6 tiers. Absolute banger, lit, decent, mid, bad, no one is showing up. The absolute banger of a Stanley Cup parade would be Edmonton, Calgary, Boston, Philadelphia, Montreal, Toronto. Sure, fine. You go through lit, decent, mid, bad. No one is showing up, Columbus and Anaheim. Sir, I say BS on that. KD's First Burner account. A Columbus Stanley Cup parade would be, if not lit, decent in terms of attendance.
I think if you're the organizer, then it's got a chance to be 2.7.
Well, I don't know if I could promise an absolute banger, but it could be lit.
I think you could light it up. Yeah, sure.
This is what I have to say to KD's First Burner account. My second thing, guys, we played a little bit of it for you, Ryan Day on the Joel Klatt podcast, and we may do some more here in the coming days. I highly recommend it. It was really good. If you missed any of it, you can go back and you can listen to it on the podcast or the YouTube. Just search Bishop and Friends wherever you get your audio. Like and subscribe when you're there as well.
This is pretty amazing. Number 3 for me, the reporting from Front Office Sports that Pat Riley, which we've talked about, I think I talked about this last week, he successfully trademarked the phrase three-peat when he and the Lakers are trying to win their third straight championship in 1989. So he trademarked it. So anytime you use the phrase three-peat, he gets royalties from it. Well, the NFL just struck a deal with Pat Riley and company to use the phrase on merchandise if the Chiefs win Super Bowl 59. Outside of the Jimmy Butler thing, and I respect the hell out of him saying, you're going nowhere, you got a contract. Pat Riley's pretty much crushed everything in life. The idea that he's going to cash in on this all these years later is remarkable.
It's brilliant.
It's amazing.
It's absolutely brilliant. Just real quick, the Jackets wrapping up that 4-game road trip in Buffalo tonight. We're going to have fan pregame coverage at 6:30. Elvis Merzlikins will be in the starters net there. He's been tremendous for them. This Blue Jackets thing, I know it was, stunk what happened with Marchenko, but if Porty's reporting is accurate to the thing, they're going to get him back at the end of this month. Then everybody gets a 2-week break, and I'm really excited for what happens March 1st.
Yeah, I'll second that. And then also the weather yesterday, it seems like every year we get like a false spring day. It was so nice to turn the heat off and open up the back door and enjoy the crisp February weather.
Take it when you can get it, kids, this time of year. Rothman and Ice up next. We are back with Timmy and Bids, I believe, on that. Is that what you said, Bake? So you got that to look forward to, which is nice. We are back tomorrow on a First Friday. Bishop and Friends, right here on The Fan.
The Fan is live and local with Morning Juice, Caffeinate, and Dominate.
Weekday mornings from 6 to 9.
The Fan, Ohio sports destination. This is a Fan action update.
The Columbus Blue Jackets take on the Buffalo Sabres tonight. The Blue Jackets are plus 140 on the money line. The CBJ are currently plus 420 to make the playoffs. The Stanley Cup favorites are the Hurricanes at 6-1, and the Oilers are plus 650. The Blue Jackets are currently 200-1 to win the Cup. For your action update, I'm Scotty Vegas.
Hey guys, it's Timmy Hall, and we are getting ready. You see, this ain't the little itty-bitty, teeny-tiny bowl. This is Super Bowl 59. So get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 59. Scoring touchdowns is going to be key to hoisting that Lombardi trophy, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Looking at Saquon Barkley on the app now, plus 285 to get 2+ touchdowns. Gotta like that action. Lines and odds are subject to change. But hey, new DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use code TheFan971. That's code TheFan971. And new customers will get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, Ohio only. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to my computer career.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu.
It worked for me, and I know it can work for you.
This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
Hey, it's Anthony. I got to tell you, when you don't have the support you need, it affects everything. Feet, knees, hips, back, even your mood. I finally went to the Good Feet store, and once I was personally fitted for my arch supports, I felt a ton better. I will never wear another pair of shoes again without sliding in my personally fit Good Feet arch supports. That's because they help me eliminate my foot pain. It's such a good feeling knowing that I can be on my feet and not worrying about I'm going to wake up with low back pain or feel a weakness somewhere. I trust the Good Feet store because for more than 30 years, they've helped thousands of people just like me get back to feeling comfort on a daily basis. They take pleasure in that. And it's their personal 3-step system designed to support, balance, and strengthen your feet that guides them into their ideal position. I'm the proof. I wear them every day, even when I'm biking at the gym. So go in, take the free test walk at the Good Feet store on Polaris Parkway and on Stringtown Road in Grove City or goodfeet.com.
Regenerative treatments for joint pain are creating lots of excitement in the orthopedic community. QC Kinetics Medical Director Dr. Ray Tessner recalls a recent conversation with one of the country's most acclaimed orthopedic doctors.
He said, when you and I are young, the arthroscope was a quantum leap in treating orthopedic problems. I think regenerative medicine is the new arthroscope.
Surgery is no longer the go-to solution for chronic joint pain in your knees, hips, shoulder, or back. QC Kinetics is leading the next quantum leap. All-natural regenerative treatments that provide relief and mobility.
I think one of the tenets of being a good physician is the old saying of do no harm. That's what I enjoy about this form of treatment is there's very little chance that we're going to cause harm, and that's refreshing to me to be able to eliminate the dangers that can come sometimes with surgeries.
Book your free consultation today in Dublin or Gahanna. Call 380-208-4544. That's 380-208-4544. 380-208-4544. Or go